Well played behind.
There was one trainer. There wasn't a traveling masseuse. There wasn't game readies. There weren't all of the amenities. You didn't have cold tubs. You didn't have hot tub. You didn't have all of the amenities. And the only thing that has led, we have now teams that are paying millions of dollars to sports science. And they're like, oh, the game of basketball is tough. Let me tell you why. And for all the people that want to go through and look at numbers, you can look at how many games I played over the course of my career and what my numbers were. Let me tell you about why it was important to me, because that's all I'm going to say. My parents, I didn't come from very much. And for Christmas, my parents got me a ticket to go watch the San Antonio Spurs because David Robinson was my favorite player. One ticket. My dad, who worked security and scrubbed floors and did all this stuff, he dropped me off at the game, gave me $5, and I went in there by myself because my family couldn't afford to come to the game. So they knew that I loved basketball. I was the youngest of 3 boys, but that was my thing. So they paid one ticket.
Is this yours? Where's it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
So I just didn't know where it was coming from. And at 6, I started losing my.
Morning, Stumpy, Spitz, behind, Paul.
Ten seconds.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
We got to soak these babies up. One of the last football Fridays of the year. Final Friday of January, top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. How you doing on this day, Mark?
I'm doing great. Ready for the weekend? Ready for a Friday? I love Fridays doing a morning show because the weekend starts early for us.
I know.
Mondays begin really early, but Fridays end really early.
And for some, it is the favorite football weekend of the year. Conference Championship Sunday, 2 games, 3 and 6:30. A lot of football news, as there always is, basically any time of year. Although, word overnight, for those of us of a certain generation, of a day not that far gone by, Billy Packer passed away late Thursday at the age of 82. 34 consecutive Final Fours. His first Final Four was John Wooden's Final Four and his final championship. And his last Final Four was Mario Chalmers and Kansas and their comeback and overtime win against Memphis. 75 through 08, 34 consecutive Final Fours with 2 networks. And Mark, a part of what is still regarded as the greatest college basketball broadcast team of all time, of Enberg, McGuire, and Packer.
And that was my first thought, going back to the NBC days of he working with Al McGuire, and just, to me, how dynamic the two of those men were together.
And Dick Enberg, who grew up as the voice of UCLA basketball. And so then when NBC got the rights and John and UCLA were still at the top of the sport, and then the three of them continued. Still to this day, by the way, Magic and Larry, the 79 final, highest rated college basketball game of all time. And yesterday we were talking about some of the NFL ratings from divisional weekend. 32 million and change watched Magic and Larry. Basically the Jags Chiefs, because that was about 34. So if you want to know, put it in today's world, how many people watched Bird and Magic, Michigan State, Indiana State? Basically a Patrick Mahomes divisional playoff game.
Wow, the NFL's a monster.
Well, and so was that game.
I know that, but that's my point. You put that game up, it's a divisional round game to show you just what a monster, what a behemoth the NFL has become.
No nonsense broadcaster. All right. Did not care what people said about him. Said a few controversial things, like one year he thought a few too many mid-majors were getting in. Didn't understand how the Missouri Valley Conference could get 4 teams in, and said so. And took a lot of grief and didn't care. It's like, I don't know what to tell you. I cover college basketball. I don't think they're tournament teams. Never watched a college basketball game after the last one he broadcast. Now, that I have to admit surprised me.
That's stunning for someone that devoted that much time to a sport to just then walk away.
Mm-hmm.
Completely, not walk away, walk off.
Right. Especially since his 2 sons are both involved in the game, too. Do you remember when we had Billy Packer on?
I do.
One of John's great gets, our longtime producer, John Cassio, Billy Packer didn't have a cell phone. And Billy Packer worked on his farm when he was retired. And so somehow, some way, John got a hold of the house number and called. And I believe Billy's wife's name was Barb. And a couple times, Barb, well, no, he's not here. I'll leave a message. And so finally, John's like, so since he doesn't call us back, how are we going to get him? And she goes, well, I'll help. But, basically he's got to be around. If he's out on the farm, in the barn or whatever, that's not going to happen. But if he's kind of sort of nearby, so keep calling. And if he's within, my voice, I'll get him for you.
Billy, phone. Billy, dinner.
And sure enough, one afternoon, he was within voice. And he walked over to the phone. And he was like, hey, guys. And did 15 minutes with us. Jim Nantz, late in Packer's career. I don't know if he knew that Billy was, near the end of broadcasting or what have you, but Jim Nantz won Final Four, made an impassioned speech to get Packer into the Basketball Hall of Fame. Did not understand it. And I think it was right around the time that they had just said they were going to induct Vitale. And it was walking that line between, hey, Dickie V's great, but seriously, you're not putting my guy in? And I don't believe it's ever happened. I don't believe he's in the Basketball Hall of Fame. I was looking it up before the show. Now, you could debate whether or not, a broadcaster should be, and that's fair enough, because the Basketball Hall of Fame, unlike the Baseball Hall of Fame and the Pro Football Hall of Fame, they don't have a broadcasting wing. But it's all encompassing. Correct. The Basketball Hall. It's everything basketball, college, pro, it's international. It's very diverse when it comes to who is selected to get into the Basketball Hall of Fame. And they don't do small classes either. I mean, they put like 8 people in a year. As you said, they try to encompass the whole sport globally. And so, but Felipe, I don't know if you even remember a game Billy Packer did. Like the 2008 Final Four was 4 1 seeds also. That's what it was known for. It was Memphis, Kansas, UCLA, North Carolina. The 4 1 seeds all got to the Final Four. Boy, that's my kind of tournament right there, David.
I only briefly remember it just because of Mario Chalmers, because we ended up taking Mario Chalmers. Sorry, the Miami Heat.
No, that's fine. That's fine. You're back on the bandwagon. They haven't, quote, disappointed you in 3-4 weeks, so we get it.
Back on the bandwagon. Come on now. I don't even want to get started.
Well, listen, Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals last year. Actually, I think it was after Game 5. They lost.
It was after Game 5.
Yeah.
Game 5 that you were done with the Heat, and you said it on the air. We could roll the tape.
Exactly.
So do not even try to say you're not a bandwagon fan. The problem is you're bandwagon.
I'm not a bandwagon fan, man. I've been a fan my whole life. I was just pissed.
My whole life. I think the shirt I have on is almost as old as him, but okay. But so he's just before Felipe's time. So those probably 25 or under don't really recall Billy Packer, but 34 consecutive Final Fours. I mean, we watched the Final Four in this country.
And think about the time that he did it. It was all through the 80s with these just tremendous Final Fours, tremendous players that we watched year after year. And it was Billy Packer giving us those games when the tournament meant more. It just did.
Totally. I mean, the series of Final Fours and championship games throughout the 80s. Obviously, Bird Magic was 79. His first Final Four was Wooden's last game in 75. Al McGuire's last title, his last game in 77. Then the trio formed together. Billy was the one that went to CBS, so he was there. Remember, the NC State.
Right.
Gary Bender and Packer. And Packer's the one who you hear yelling, they won it on the dunk. So Billy Packer passing away at the age of 82. We've had his son Mark on the show, and we offer our condolences to the Packer family. They lost their mom a short time ago as well. A lot of football news from yesterday in Billy Packer country, North Carolina. Well, there's some controversy.
Boy, is there ever.
Because they chose a head coach for the Carolina Panthers. And if it was Sean Payton, a lot of people wouldn't have had a problem with it. But once it wasn't the big fish, then people were like, well, it's got to be Steve Wilkes, for goodness sake. And that's not who the owner went with. Went with Frank Reich. There's a few things to be said here. First off, Frank Reich, first quarterback in Carolina Panthers history.
First offensive coach for Carolina in what, forever?
Ever,
right? Okay.
ever. I mean, if you go all the way back, Dom Capers, their first coach, defense, George Seifert. We want to go through the list. They have never had an offensive coach. And those in and around the owner, David Tepper, believe that, this was his thinking. He's like, listen, we got to get an offensive guy in here. But it looks as if Steve Wilkes is going to sue. Because a law firm, 8 minutes after Frank Reich was announced as head coach, sent out a statement that basically said, well, this is racism.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't really mince words with what the statement said.
No. Everybody can see what's going on here.
And we'll have plenty more to say about this shortly.
Correct. And by shortly, we mean after lunch. We just wanted to get this out. We're going to work on something during lunch, and we'll send you another one out. Listen, Mark, you and I have talked about this uncomfortable subject long before many others wanted to. Is there racism in the NFL? Yes. Okay. I don't believe this was an evidence of racism. I think this was Wilkes, Reich, flip of a coin. Let's go with the offense.
Hey, have coaches not gotten jobs because of color? I'm sure of it. I know of it. But at some point, these guys hire who they want. The guy wanted an offensive coach. That's the direction they want to go. And after all these defensive coaches, they hired an offensive guy. That seemed to be what it was here. Miller and Moulton. We'll get to more of the coaching changes because one more was hired that made us stop in our tracks on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Life, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Life is supported with the help of local partners like Zeppi's Tavern and Pizzeria at 41 and Wiggins Pass. Award-winning pizza with a cool rock and roll theme. Don't miss North Naples' newest the award-winning service for Naples Daily News Best of 2021. 250-mile radius, live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Serving a 250-mile radius of Southwest Florida over 15 airports. Salt Life Transportation, the official transportation of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show. Book now, 239-308-8686, or online at saltlifetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Levitard is something. And I'm not a fan of the show, but I just stumbled upon one of his tweets. Holy blank. Another football fan base is taking us seriously while somehow not even realizing that one 49er steak is being offered by our troll basketball guy and the other by a guy waving around a hand fully submerged in a vat of mayonnaise. Brando with a bunch of tweets about Packer. He said, oftentimes Billy would have his notes in a Walgreens bag.
Pretty funny.
That's great. I believe so, Mongo, about Bill Russell.
Big Ten basketball is dreadful.
Well, I'll tell you what, though. They're dreadfully playing close games.
I know, but I mean, and I watched Michigan State, Iowa game, and I watched a little bit of Purdue, Michigan. It's just not. Ugh.
So I stayed up for Andy last night. That's like the third time he's done that to UCLA, where he's been down big at the half and come back to beat them. He's like 6-2 in his last 8, I think, against them. Yes, Frank Robinson was the first black manager. He was player manager, by the way, the Indians.
They whipped them pretty good last night, too, didn't they?
And they were down 12 at the half. Outscored them by, I think, 25 in the second half. That's a legit top 10 team in the country they whooped, too. That should, for the moment, get them off the bubble.
Held them to 27 in the second half. Wow.
30 seconds.
They do the Ohio State thing. They refer to UCLA as that other team in LA.
Can't really cross out letters, though, can they?
10 seconds.
No.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. It's a football Friday.
Football Friday.
Yeah, baby. Get in that three-point stance and gut it out. Don't have many of these suckers left. Although, got to be honest, Mark, once the free agency period starts, I know it's right around March Madness and all, but once NFL free agency, NBA free agency, they got to take over the world. NBA lasts about 5 to 7 days. NFL lasts about 3 weeks.
Between that and the draft, the NFL's done an amazing job of making it a year-round sport. They really have.
Conference Championship Sunday, Niners, Eagles, Bengals, Chiefs. Yes, that's right. 2 years in a row, the Bengals in the conference championship game. Mark, once again, it's good if you can get yourself a Joe Burrow.
It really is. You were right when you made that statement a couple of years ago. It's still right today. Do you have a Joe Burrow? Can you get a Joe Burrow? These are all things that we'd like to have.
And I think it's relative to other sports as well. Like I think Luka's looking for a Joe Burrow. Okay. Or either that he is Joe Burrow and he's got no help whatsoever.
He's not that cool, man.
Certainly not to you.
He's not that cool. Never will be.
Also, he's a little chunky.
Right. I mean,
No.
Giannis
Six.
is that cool. Giannis,
Yeah.
eating the nuggets Giannis has a cool factor about him. Luka does not have a cool factor. Luka is a tremendous player. He's not cool.
Mark, stop! You're out of your mind.
He's not cool. What that I said he's not cool? I just said he's an amazing player.
He is the baddest mother in the league.
Wow.
Okay.
He's clutch.
Okay.
He hits shots. He's got handles.
This just in, Larry Bird wasn't cool either. Because I'm saying you're not cool, we're talking about Joe Burrow here. Joe Burrow is the coolest MFer on the planet right now.
Right. I mean,
Luka is cool.
his nickname is Joe Cool.
Right.
Okay.
No
Now,
one would ever confuse Luka Doncic with Joe Cool. Not ever in a million years.
Okay, now you're comparing Joe Burrow to Luka for some reason.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
we were
that's
doing.
what we were just doing. If you were listening to the show,
No, I
that's
know,
exactly what
but
we were
that's-
just doing.
Felipe, here's our argument. Ja Morant's cool. Okay. But we're saying Luka's amazing. We just don't know if he's also cool. It was like the difference between Julius Erving and Larry Bird. Larry Bird was amazing. Julius Erving was cool.
Right. Steph is cool.
But,
That's all.
but what makes them look, Luka Doncic
Style.
style? Yeah.
Style. From the time they get out of their car, walk into the arena, at the press conferences, just cool.
Luka's got style.
Okay.
Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. There was another hiring yesterday that you wanted to talk about.
I really do, because we all know now Aaron Rodgers is going to be a Jet because Nathaniel Hackett, that's how you get him. That's what Denver did. They got Nathaniel Hackett to get Aaron Rodgers. Now the Jets saw what Nathaniel Hackett did and what the tremendous job the Denver offense was this past year. And the Jets says, you know what we need? We need a Nathaniel Hackett.
Mark, this all goes down to which side of the ledger are you going to emphasize? Because there's the Denver Broncos side to Nathaniel Hackett's legend and ledger. Okay, but there is the Jacksonville Jaguars with Blake Bortles and Green Bay Packers with Aaron Rodgers side to his ledger, which is very impressive. Very impressive.
And that's what Robert Saleh was trying to sell yesterday.
Well,
His life as an assistant and the job he did. Do not take 1 year and a recency bias as to what this man is as a coach.
I mean, Saleh can't say it, but what he wants to say is, listen, I've looked at the tape. This is on Russ. Sorry. All right. He just sucked. I don't know what to tell you. The plays were good. He sucked. Meanwhile, Russ is going, no. Did you notice we were better without him? He scored more points and everything. Nathaniel Hackett calling plays in New York. Make or break for everybody there. GM, coach,
yes.
offensive coordinator, you name it.
This is so gutsy by the Jets personnel to pull this move off. Because you're right, David. This is everybody's job on the line. Everybody's job on the line.
I like gutsy hires. I do. It's my career. If I'm going down, I'm going down with Nathaniel Hackett. Now, that's when you want to grab him by the elbow and go, come here. I just want to repeat what you just said. Did you just say you're putting your career in the hands of Nathaniel Hackett?
Essentially into a microphone, he said it too.
Right. Adam in our Twitch chat room wants Hackett, when he meets the New York media, to end his presser the way Russ has been ending his pressers. Was it let's ride?
Let's ride.
Let's ride. That's what Hackett should say. That would be awesome. Felipe, you know what that would be? That would be cool. Oh, that would be cool. Yeah, we thought he wasn't going to get the job. We thought recency bias was just too great. That the whole Denver year, which was really not good. Man.
And of all places to do it, it's not like you're going to Jacksonville or Houston or Atlanta or somewhere where you could put this coach in the witness protection program. It's New York. And every time the offense sputters, they will be writing about Nathaniel Hackett.
Tell you what, though, They are linking Aaron Rodgers to the Jets, and this is before they signed Hackett.
Absolutely.
Makes sense. They need a quarterback.
Finish the deal. This is done. Rodgers is a Jet.
Favre became a Jet. Why not Rodgers? I don't think Aaron would like New York City. I don't. All right. The line of questioning when you throw 2 picks in a divisional loss to the Patriots is very different than when you don't get the job done against the Vikings, the Bears, or the Lions. It just is.
I would like him to be in New York. I actually want it to happen for that reason. Because Aaron always thinks he's the smartest guy in the room, and he very well may be the smartest guy in the room.
Yeah.
More times than not. But as you pointed out, every one of those New York reporters also thinks that they're the smartest guy in the room when asked at least about the subject matter that they're covering.
Right. And their attitude is, I don't care what you did elsewhere. You didn't squat here. You win wearing green. Now that would impress us. Although I'll tell you what, could you imagine it happening and Namath would show up at the presser because he's already said he would let Rodgers wear his number 12? Joe Namath at the presser introducing Aaron Rodgers to the Jets.
Couple of cool cats right there.
Tell you, one of them may even wear a mink coat.
So we shall see. But Hackett to the Jets yesterday, it didn't stop me in my tracks, but it did cause a pause.
Come on, you started laughing.
Out loud. Out loud. I went, I'll be damned. This is so Jets. Maybe one time it'll work for the Jets. Maybe this is the one time. But typically, well, they're the Jets for a reason.
Miller and Moulton. A lot of other coaching news from yesterday, whether it happened or didn't happen. We'll get to that and a lot more coming up. But we're also
listening to the show. You can download it, and you need to join us on Twitch because I have a funny feeling we're going to continue on with the coolness factor of athletes during the upcoming break because I'm getting stared down by Felipe, who seems to think that Luka Doncic is cool. I don't even know if Luka thinks Luka is cool. Miller and Moulton.
Luka is like a Western character. Couldn't you imagine Luka, is he quick on the draw?
Excuse me. Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Life, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Life is supported with the help of local partners like Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria at 41 and Wiggins Pass. Award-winning pizza with a cool rock and roll theme. Don't miss North Naples' newest sensation, Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria. When it's time to leave, book with the award-winning service for Naples Daily News Best of 2021. 250-mile radius, live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Serving a 250-mile radius of Southwest Florida over 15 airports. Salt Life Transportation, the official transportation of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show. Book now, 239-308-8686 or online at saltlifetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
All right, I know you have your prejudice against these Eastern European basketball players, but the one that looks like a nerd and the one that looks like he plays Dungeons and Dragons is Nikola Jokic.
I like him better than Luka. He's skinnier.
I don't really know about that. Skinnier?
Looks more athletic to me. Luka looks like a tub of goo.
I think you confuse them.
No, I know exactly who he is. One plays for the Nuggets, one plays for the Mavs.
Yeah. Jokic looks like a tub of mayo.
Felipe, I'll say this. On this one, I'm on your side. I think Luka's cool.
Luka's cool as hell. The 64-win Suns last year were beat by 40 at home by Luka.
What does that have to do with? I'm trying to think. You're talking about basketball prowess. I'm talking about being cool.
Because he did it with a smile on his face the whole time. He was talking shit, calling freaking
You guys got
Devin
to quit. You
Booker.
guys got to quit the swearing because it scares me to death that you leave our mics on at least once a week. You got to cool it.
Sorry, okay.
Got to cool it.
All right, fair enough.
Fair enough.
I do not want us to lose a gig because someone forgets to hit a button and one of you guys drops an F-bomb during a break. We got to cool it.
All right.
Well, what have I ever done that?
Whatever. He beat the Suns in Phoenix, and he did it with a smile on his face, talking that, calling Devin Booker a,
Larry Bird might be the best trash talker ever. Does that make him cool?
Yeah, it does, actually. Okay. I think it does. I think it makes him badass.
Agree. Badass is not cool.
I'm with Mark on that. There's a difference.
There's a huge difference. And
Okay.
I am not trying to take anything away from the guy. I don't know why. I say he's a great basketball player every time I speak of the man, but you don't listen to me.
Okay.
I don't have to like him.
But what makes someone cool? Like, what makes...
There you go.
That's a great question.
There you go. What makes someone cool?
I'm waiting.
Is Josh Allen cool? No, but he's a badass. Is Joe Burrow cool?
Yes.
Is Patrick Mahomes cool? Yes.
Yes.
Is Aaron Rodgers cool?
Really interesting.
Hold
I
up.
think he was, but I'm not sure now.
Can we do yes, no, maybe so? Is quarterback
We could one day. We could one day, yes.
Not today, but remember that because it's a good segment.
Yes, no, maybe so. Is blank athlete cool?
Is so and so cool? Yes, no, maybe so.
Is LeBron cool?
Yes.
Okay. Is
aren't we saving this?
You're right. You're right. Let me not get excited.
Can hear it though.
D Wade was cool.
Oh hell yeah.
D Wade was cool. That's cool.
Right.
And D Wade. Oh.
But he carries himself a certain way.
That's my favorite athlete of all time, by the way. Dwayne Wade. He's the reason why I like sports.
Like, for instance, okay, Marino was cool. Was Elway?
No.
Is it because he was on the magazines and the commercials?
Isotoners? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Women would leave their husbands for Dan.
Literally, Paige Sporanic, is that her, what's her name? The influencer, the Paige Sporanic put out an Instagram and basically said, be on watch, all men, because all your women are in love with Joe Burrow.
Yes.
Oh, it's insane.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's because he's cool.
White girls love Joe Burrow.
All girls love Joe Burrow.
And not all girls. But yeah, a lot of girls like Joe Burrow. Look, I'm not trying to deny that Joe Burrow is cool either, because he is cool as hell. I just think Luke is cool. That's all.
Whines too much.
10 seconds.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes before the hour, Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. Pat Kirwan coming up at the top of the hour. And then in the 8 o'clock hour, well, we'll check in on at least one side of both conference championship games. Mo Egger live from Cincinnati and Rob Ellis live from Philly. There you go. Pat Kirwan, Mo Egger, Rob Ellis, the Clutch Vodka play of the day. It is all coming up. Right now it is time for
The Starting Five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the Starting Five on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
Well, the first of the 5 NFL head coaching vacancies was filled. Carolina choosing Frank Reich, former Colts head coach, former Carolina Panthers quarterback. In fact, the first one in franchise history. Frank Reich getting the job over Steve Wilkes. Wilkes, through his attorney, claiming racism, and they're going to sue. Well, this should go well. Dan Quinn is taking himself out of the running. He's following Pat Kirwan's advice. It's like, I don't think any of these jobs are any good. I'll have Jarrah give me another raise. I'll stay in Dallas for another year. Heck, we don't win in 2023. They won't blame me and my defense. They'll get rid of McCarthy. I might get that job. Jarrah likes me. Jets hired Nathaniel Hackett to be their offensive coordinator. Well, he's going to bring Aaron Rodgers with him. Remember, he did that in Denver.
Yep. It's all done now.
Yep. Although, to Hackett's credit, he did a terrific job as offense coordinator of the Jags with, Bortles and what have you. And also he did a really good job in Green Bay. Denver,
that's why he got the head coaching job.
Right. Not so much. Sean Payton, and he's denied it, by the way. He sent out a tweet and said that report is garbage. The Broncos ownership group is fantastic.
Especially if they pay me $20 million a year.
But Payton, there was a report out, Mark Maskey, who covers the Broncos, he said, Payton and somebody in the Broncos ownership group, it's not working. I don't think Sean's going to take the job, and he's probably going to sit this coaching cycle out. Payton sent out a tweet that said, what are you talking about? That's garbage. Had a great meeting with the Broncos ownership group. Love them all.
Except for that one guy. He was a real pain in the ass.
Yeah. And, of course, everybody picked on Condoleezza Rice. That's who everybody, it must be Condi Rice. Like we know what that we're talking about. Hey, do you know the Chiefs are back as a favorite?
Yeah, this has been the wildest point spread. It has just fluctuated between +2 one way, it went to +1 another way, and now it's back to the Chiefs are favored by a point, right?
Correct. Once again, Pat Kirwan, who joins us in 20 minutes, he called this after he saw Mahomes and what he said on the platform, and that he was a full participant in Wednesday's practice. And when he walked off the platform with no boot and without limping, Pat said, you watch, all the money will start coming in back on the Chiefs. I predict, by the way, between now and kickoff, the Sharks go with the Bengals. Wouldn't shock me at all, Mark, if this is truly what you very rarely ever see in a big football game, college or pro, a flat pick'em. And I think this one has a chance to be a straight-up pick'em. But right now, the Chiefs are a 1-point favorite. One other football note, very sad news. He was a linebacker for the Lions last year, was in a training camp this year, had agreed to, I think he signed with an XFL team. 25-year-old linebacker Jesse Lemonier died, no cause given. He was married, and they were expecting their first child here in the coming weeks. 25 years old. College basketball, Billy Packer passed away last night at the age of 82. He broadcast 34 consecutive Final Fours from John Wooden's last game in 75 through Mario Chalmers and Kansas, beating Calipari in Memphis in 2008. Billy Packer. Not in the Hall of Fame. I think he should be, to be honest. If Vital's in, right? Packer?
I would think so.
Billy was 82.
There's part of me, though, that, I mean, and I know it'd be nice, but what's the point now? You had plenty of opportunities while the man was alive to put him in so his family could all recognize it. I hate that.
Oh, I agree. And not only that, his two sons might get up at the podium and actually say, this sucks. No offense. You couldn't do this to Dad while he was alive? I mean, that was what Skip said about Harry. Skip said, if you're going to do this, you better do this now. Or because he basically said, because you ain't going to like the speech we give if you do it when it's too late. College hoops last night, FAU's 19-1. All right. They won by 18 at home against Middle Tennessee.
And they were struggling in the first half of that game and came out and pounded them in the second half.
And top 10 college basketball, some good games last night. Top-ranked Purdue edged Michigan by 5 on the road. 6th-ranked Arizona edged Washington State by 5 on the road. But 8th-ranked UCLA went across town, had a 12-point halftime lead. And USC said, yeah, we got you right where we want you. And they bombed the Bruins in the second half, and they won by 13. Good win for Andy Enfield and company. In state last night, Mark, FGCU blew a late lead. They've lost 4 or 5. They lost at Queens. No, not New York. It's a small college in North Carolina, 84-82. FIU won at home by 9. Jacksonville lost by 18 on the road. Stetson got beat at Liberty by 29. Oh, boy. North Florida blew a lead, lost in overtime at Central Arkansas. But, Mark, I'll give you this. Your Spartans held off Iowa last night at home, 63-61. That sounds like a stylistically very appealing game.
That was just Big Ten basketball in a nutshell, David. That was Big Ten basketball. A lot of defense, a lot of missed shots. Iowa had 2 really good chances to win at the end and missed them both.
Women's hoops, UConn beat Tennessee by 17 last night in Tennessee. In state, FGCU, Miami, Jacksonville, and Stetson were winners. Florida State, FAU, North Florida, FIU were losers. NBA, LeBron and Giannis listed as all-star captains. Knicks went to Boston. Knicks hit their free throws. Celtics missed theirs. Knicks won in overtime, 120-117. Randall with 37. Spencer Dinwiddie, after Luka got hurt early, scored 36 so Dallas could beat Phoenix again. You know, we said Golden State-Memphis might be the most intense rivalry in the league. Number 2 is Dallas and Phoenix, though. They don't like each other. Remember, Dallas beat them in the playoffs last year and talked a whole bunch of while doing it? Yeah, that's continued. Detroit's the worst team in the East, so they, of course, won in Brooklyn. Charlotte's the second worst team in the East, so they beat the Bulls by 15. Cleveland by 18 over Houston. Clippers have won 4 in a row. They beat the Spurs by a mere 38. NHL. Eastern Conference Final preview? What do you say?
I'd take 6 or 7 of that. You give me 6, 7 of that series. So the way they played last night, David, sign me up right now.
Let me tell you, every now and then there's a regular season game that both teams show up for and say, are we doing this tonight? Okay, let's do it. Yeah, we got like game 5 of a playoff series last night. Tampa Bay 3-2 over Boston, just their 6th regulation loss of the year. Hedman with the game winner with under 7 minutes to go. Good game, too. 1-0, 1-1, 2-1, 2-2. I mean, it was
good intensity, good physicality, good weeknight hockey game last night.
Tampa Bay with the best goalie in the world on display again. Oh, good stuff. Washington beat Pittsburgh 3-2 in a shootout. Ovechkin with his 32nd goal. That's 8-12, ladies and gentlemen. 8-12. He's 82 behind Gretzky. Nashville beat New Jersey 6-4. Mark, you and I are into betting hockey, or at least noting the betting lines. Calgary was minus 400 at home against Chicago. The Blackhawks beat them 5-1. Colorado was minus 420 at home against Anaheim. Anaheim beat them 5-3. Some money to be made last night if you're willing to
bad
throw.
losses for those teams, especially Colorado, who's trying to trace down a playoff spot. You can't lose those games against bad teams right now.
Same with Calgary. They're tied. Actually, both of them had the same number of points at 55. A bad loss for both. In golf, round 2 of the Farmers Insurance Open on the North Course at Torrey Pines. Sam Ryder, who was tied for the lead after the first round, he shot a 4 under 68. He now has a 3-shot lead over Brendan Steele. Max Homa is 6 back, tied for 4th. John Rahm shot a nice 5 under 67 to get back in it. He is tied for 14th. He's 8 back. And, well, we knew this was going to happen. That nice American run at the Australian Open. Yeah, Djokovic ended that. I mean, you know, he let Tommy Paul have a good half hour. I mean, the first set went 7-5.
I think in those matches when you're really outmanned, you know, they give it all they can in the first set, trying to make something happen. And when it doesn't, it just comes down quickly after that.
Yep. I mean, you know, I don't know this for a fact because I wasn't watching at about 4 a.m., but, you know, I think Djokovic actually patted him on the head as he walked by after losing the first set 7-5. Kind of like, you know, you've had a nice run. This is cute. 6-1, 6-2 after that. It'll be Djokovic against Tsitsipas. Easy for me to say. In fact, I think I got it wrong. I think it's Tsitsipas. He's Greek. Okay. You know, kind of like, you know, we call him Giannis as opposed to doing the last name. Some of us do. Or we call him the Greek Freak. It's the same here with Tsitsipas. All right. Some of us just call him Stefanos. Anyway, he's the 3rd seed. Djokovic's the 4th seed. They'll meet in the final. Djokovic looking for his 22nd Grand Slam, which would tie Nadal for first all time. And I believe that's it.
That was the Starting 5 every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
Well, if you believe that's it, I'm going to second it because you're the one with a piece of paper in front of you.
But, you know, sometimes I miss things. You know, somebody passes, you know, that just something happens at 3 a.m. in the East, you know, and I didn't catch it. But, you know, that's, put it this way, Mark. I'm getting up. I'm handing in my blue book in class. Okay, here, this is it. This is the best I got. All right. You know, I'm hoping for an A, but if you give me a B, I understand.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Loved those blue book tests.
I did too.
Usually I'd have one blue book that I'd have a few of the answers already written down in and hope that I had, you know, if they'd give you 5 or 6 essay questions, try to take a stab, have a few of them already answered.
My last final, my sophomore year of college, I didn't realize it at the time, but I had mono. I mean, I was sick and I was, you know, staggering through finals. And the last exam, I just went to take a short nap and then I was going to cram and study for it. And I slept like 10 straight hours, woke up barely in time to go to the exam. Mark, they gave me the blue book and I wrote in the blue book, Professor, I'm sick. All right. And I don't know what to tell you. All right. Yeah. I got to go lay down. All right. Give me whatever grade you feel is fair. I don't think it should be an F because I participated all year, got an A on the midterm, blah, blah, blah. But whatever you give me is fine. I'm going home, going to sleep, and then I'm driving home to Jersey. I'll see you next year. All right. And handed it in and walked out. It was at the final for 3 minutes. All right. He gave me a C+.
Good originality on the blue book.
I did. I went back to the dorm room, slept another 10 plus hours, got up, packed, drove home the next day.
That professor was pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, certainly as cool as Luca.
Cooler.
And
Not
you know
about
what he
that
was?
run.
You know what he was, Felipe? He was clutch with a K.
With a K?
Yeah, cool with a K. Or
Oh.
clutch with a K.
Maybe a little bit of both. Pat Kirwan coming up in mere minutes. Mo Egger, the clutch play of the day. Rob Ellis, all still ahead on the show as we will start getting into championship weekend in full force, as well as the coaching moves that happened in the National Football League. The text line, as always, is open at 21,000. 21-000. Your comments always appreciated on the show. If you've never texted before, text the keyword FSN Radio, all one word. Do that. You're inside the little gate, and you can text as much or as little as you would like. Pat Kirwan coming up on the other side. Miller and Moulton trying to figure out what's cool, who's cool. And Felipe buying that Luca is cool. Miller is not. Moulton on the fence. It's a yes, no, maybe so on the Florida Sports Report. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
You had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Life, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Life is supported with the help of local partners like Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria at 41 and Wiggins Pass. Award-winning pizza with a cool rock and roll theme. Don't miss North Naples' newest sensation, Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria. When it's time to leave, book with the award-winning service for Naples Daily News Best of 2021. 250-mile radius, live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Serving a 250-mile radius of Southwest Florida, over 15 airports. Salt Life Transportation, the official transportation of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show. Book now, 239-308-8686, or online at saltlifetransportation.com.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Good morning, Pat.
Good morning, Mark. You hear me?
Perfectly.
All right. Sometimes it's a challenge for reasons unknown to me, but
Exactly.
My mute button or something's overactive on its own. Good morning, David.
Good morning. Are you head to KC tomorrow?
Tomorrow morning, I get 5:30. That Atlanta plane, 5:30.
Yeah, there's a direct flight out of Atlanta.
Yep.
KC.
So that's where I'm heading. Today, this morning, as soon as I get off this, I'm going over to see Chris Doyle and those guys working out.
Oh, wow.
He's got 40 kids of the 75 that are in bowl games. East-West NFLPA game or the Senior Bowl. So it'd be a good chance to see a bunch of them. Plus that quarterback from Shepherd, he's going to work out this morning at 8:30. So
where's he doing that at?
He's got a big place now, and I'll tell you where it is. You'll know it's not far from us. 1460-51. That doesn't matter. You know where Jetport Loop is?
Yeah, he's over by he's over by the airport in one of those buildings.
Yeah, he's got a big old warehouse or something. So he's
All
got
right.
75 kids down here working out.
Wow.
I think almost every one of them has been invited to the combine. So good for Chris.
Absolutely.
He got railroaded.
We were talking about him the other day. I was playing golf with our mutual friend. I know Mike's trying to get Chris over to come play golf with us.
Yeah.
Um,
Going over there, Brad.
Well, he could make just like your buddy, the other longtime line coach, you could make a really good living doing what he's doing with a much better life.
Yeah, I don't think he has a choice anymore. After he got railroaded out of this whole thing, no one's going to ever hire him. But I'm going to hook him up with Paul Alexander because Paul has got that European thing going crazy now.
Right.
And there's lots of reasons to be over there with those. I told you he's going to be the head coach of that German team.
Right.
And they have 1,000 kids in the program, and he thinks 4 or 5 of them are Division I prospects. He's going to send them over to IMG.
Yeah, they lack for talent there. They could really use it. But, Pat, it doesn't matter the day and age, 60s, 70s, 80s, or today. You can never have enough big men. You just can't. They're tough to find.
You got to go planet-wise to find them. And he's been going to Africa a lot, too, now. He said there's another set of phenomenal guys there. So, yeah, it's a nice, big-time, fat business. If you get in on the ground floor, you can roll.
Well, I'm all for fat people making money, Pat.
What am I supposed to respond to that?
I'm the fat guy on the show. I'm all for fat people.
I'm not far behind you.
No, you're not.
You're the GM.
Please.
And hey, I told you that line was going to swing the other way.
10 seconds.
What the heck is that?
It's
your mic off.
No, it's my phone. It's a missing person.
Oh, I'll be getting that next.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Pat Kirwan, kind enough to join us once again. He of NFL Radio's Moving the Chains, CBS's NFL Today Show, joining us twice a week in season, courtesy of Pinchers from Tampa to Key West, over a dozen locations in between. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. You ready for Conference Championship Sunday?
Yeah, I sure am, and I hope they keep both games on Sundays. All that nonsense about making one of them Monday night, forget it. Yeah, it's a great day of football. Last week was 2 great days of football, but we'll take what we got here. We're going to be on the field for Kansas City and Cincinnati, which is great. That'll be like the third, if I can't even count them anymore, how many times I've been to Kansas City and on the field for that game, because that's where our set will be, right down there on the 10-yard line or so.
You're going to be freezing, dude. It's going to be cold.
2 years ago, it was -2 or something. What is my choice? And then I'm going right from there to Mobile to thaw out. And if that doesn't do it, I'll thaw out in Phoenix, because that's where I'm heading right after that. So,
What do you think about Mahomes? Where do you think he's at for this game? I saw Dr. Chow, who I know you have on the show, said he gave him whatever his score in the 80s. I know we all saw him walk, but where do you think Mahomes is for this game, Pat?
Look, They're a little deceptive, right? They said he looked fine on Wednesday. That was a walkthrough. Okay, so one coach one time told me a guy looked really fast in a walkthrough. I called him out on it on the show. I go, Pete,
Fast in a walkthrough.
It was the rookie running back from the Seahawks, and I said, "Hey, how's Kenny doing?" And he goes, "He looked really fast today." I go, "Pete, you had a walkthrough. What are you talking about?" So I think Wednesday I just pushed it aside. Now he did practice yesterday, and usually for me, they'll take a day off right after a real workout, and they'll see that he's off. Now if he practices again today, then I would think, hey, we're going to see the best of what he's got, and he'll have some medical help to make sure he doesn't feel the pain. But it's not my experience that guys have ever been able to do this and really effectively come back to win a championship game or anything else big. So it'll be fun to watch. I think the guys out in the desert claim that they must feel he's good enough because that line swung back and Kansas City's favorite, which for the Bengal guys and my friends at the staff, they're very happy they're underdogs again. They like to play to that card.
And Pat, you saw that coming. You said so on your show on Wednesday when the Bengals were favored, but Mahomes did the presser. You said, listen, if they think Patrick Mahomes is healthy, the money's going to come back in on the Chiefs. Pat, if you're one of the defensive coaches and you know the Bengals defense coordinator well, would you take the injury into account in terms of schematically how you would attack them? Like, would you say, you know what, he's not going to be Patrick Mahomes. He's going to be more relegated to the pocket. Therefore, we are going to send our pressures accordingly.
Yes, I think you have to, and you certainly have that package ready to go. You might have to take the first series or two to surmise the reality of what he is. Knowing Andy Reid, the first thing Andy's going to do is have him get in shotgun and throw deep. And make us think that he's fine. But I do think at the end of the day, when they peel the onion back, Kansas City's going to try to run the ball as much as they ran last week. So that's where I think this is really headed when you start looking at that. And he ran the ball 30 times last week. And how many of them had something to do with Mahomes being immobile? A lot of them. So I do think they're going to have to play some run calls. But you cannot sit there. I'll give you an example. Super Bowl, Philadelphia, New England. Terrell Owens comes back from not playing for all that time. He gets on the field. Yeah, he caught a ton of passes, but at the end of the first quarter, they figured out he's not running as fast as he did, so they got out of the double coverage business. So I think you have to assess this thing as it goes. Do I think he's going to run? No. I think he might be on the orders not to. Now, he's a classic runner at the end of the second quarter. The guy's going to try to set up a score. So there's one. But I'd be blitzing up inside and flushing him outside and telling my outside rushers, contain rush, he's coming to you. And let him hobble out to you. And you know what? And get as many shots on him as you can.
That part I agree with wholeheartedly if it can be done. How would you defend Kelsey, Pat? I mean, obviously he had 17 targets, caught 14 balls against the Jags. The Cincinnati's going to have to do better than that. How do you do it?
Well, Cincinnati's been very good at it. So they've held him to 19 catches in the 3 games. You can do the math on that. 6 catches and 59 yards, and has 2 touchdowns in the 3 games, 1 in 2 games and none in another. So the last time they played him, they were very effective. Everyone likes to talk about, and me too, double coverage in the red zone. I don't understand why he ever runs free. Now, where he lines up and what he does, if he's in motion, you're not getting a first shot on him. You're going to have to deal with him coming off the line of scrimmage and bracketing him. But I would overplay him because 2 things happened when Mahomes got hurt. One of them was the running, which we covered. The other one was there's my crutch right out there, and that's why he lands up with the most catches by a tight end in a postseason game. So I'm bracketing the guy. If he ever lines up on the line of scrimmage, Mark, as a true tight end, or even I'm going to get in his face right there, and we're going to jam him and force an outside release.
Chiefs, Bengals, Cincinnati's won 3 in a row against them in the last 2 seasons. Pat, does that mean anything? Because, the Niners had beaten the Rams 6 in a row heading into last year's NFC Championship game, and they've won the 2 since. But the game, they lost. Do you think it means something that the Bengals have recently had the Chiefs number?
No. These games, the NFL itself, we talk about just the divisional back, you play each other twice. and how many splits there are, more splits than sweeps. So, yeah, I don't think it means a lot. And I mean, Andy Reid could be using it as a motivator himself because his team does not fear the Bengals. They just haven't been able to beat them. And part of the problem, a big part of the problem, is the Kansas City defense, when subjected to defending a lead, have had a really hard time doing it, which is classic Marino, Kelly, all the great ones. They're more dangerous when they're losing because now they're either calling the plays themselves, rushing up in no huddle, or they're doing it in 4 downs and they're not going to punt anymore. And so just in the 3 games, Kansas City, Cincinnati, with Burrow on the field, they've scored 47 points in the second half. So it's not all fourth quarter. It's a lot of fourth quarter, but it can be the third quarter as well. So Burrow comes out of that tunnel at halftime, and here we go. And I think his group of receivers love that. Now, you're going to ask me, can they protect them? The one thing about Burrow that's pretty clear to me is that guy's resourceful. He understands he's got backup linemen. The ball's going to get away, and he might get into 6 and maybe even 7-man protection. They don't need anyone out for passes except those 3 receivers. There's a lot of rookie cornerbacks in Kansas City.
Well, you led right to where I was going. Is this, we talk about the big tight end for Kansas City, but the other side, is Hurst going to be someone that's going to have to be held in protection? Is it Mixon? How do they do that? Because obviously if Kansas City can get to Burrow, you put the magic number in there, they sack him 5 times, it's advantage Kansas City. If it's 4 under, it's advantage Cincinnati. But can this line hold up? And who when you're watching protection, are you going to be looking at, Pat? The tight end, the running back, how do they help Burrow with this depleted offensive line?
I think they start the game by keeping both in protection, which doesn't mean they're going to stay in, but check release those guys. Chip on the left side and help Carmen Jackson if you have to. And then on the other side, the tight ends, a little delay release, which, by the way, they do a lot with Kelsey. Kelsey's a, block, slide out. And it doesn't mean you're catching a 1-yard pass all the time, but I would be supporting the protection with those 2 guys and let them be my checkdowns. Because Burrow, he's a pretty good runner. He ran very well against Kansas City the first time. I am sure Spags is concerned about it, but on a priority list, that's third. So that's my answer. Put the 3 wide receivers out there and let them run the routes they like to run and the ones he likes to throw. And I do not think that if they can hold up in protection, I don't think the back end can handle the 3 receivers.
It's basically a toss-up.
Yes.
Who right now, which way are you leaning?
Cincinnati.
Fair enough.
No, I just, not because they beat him before. It's because I think I'll ask you guys the answer to that question yourselves. The more I watch Burrow, the more I think he might be the best one. We got a lot of thoroughbreds in this race, and you start looking at all these guys. I asked 2 coaches this question. I'll ask you 2. If you get to pick any quarterback off any roster to make him your quarterback right now for the next 10 years, which one are you taking?
There's no wrong answer, but I would take Burrow. And I said something a couple years ago about him that I never thought I would say. He's Joe Montana with a stronger arm.
Yeah.
Not as mobile, but he's Joe Montana with a stronger arm.
Yeah, he's quite something. Mark, how about you?
There is no wrong answer. I would probably still go Mahomes, but it's Mahomes Burrow.
And here we are in a game with the 2 of them. This battle may go on for the next decade. How great is that going to be?
I was going to say that noise you hear are the CBS executives partying off in the distance. Pat Kirwan, NFL Radio's Moving the Chain, CBS's NFL Today show, joining us once again, courtesy of Pinchers. We will continue this on the other side, but your first, in about a minute, Pat, your first initial sizing up Niners-Eagles, what's the first thing you're thinking?
The pass rush of the Eagles against the young quarterback. There's an awful lot. 75 sacks is significant at home with the Philly crowd against the kid. And I think the kid's going to be a great player for a long time. This is a major test against a group of wild men that know how to get there.
A great player for a long time. Those are huge, huge compliments of Brock Purdy as he gets ready for Well, to do something no one's ever done in the league, a rookie going to the Super Bowl. It would certainly be something. But I'm with Pat that Eagles defense has been the one unit not talked about throughout this whole thing. I think they're going to be a big factor in the game as well.
And obviously the Niners will want to make those third downs, third and short, third and medium. And with their running game and their weapons, they can do it. I mean, we're talking about Cincy and Kansas City as a virtual pick 'em. I believe Philly, San Francisco's what, 2, maybe 2.5 in some places?
You don't get the full 3 home field. But,
right.
Before we leave this show today, would someone please tell me if Chris Jones is going to get a sack in the postseason?
I'm betting on it. In fact, it's a prop bet that I'm taking tomorrow. Chris Jones has been hearing all week that he's a regular season player and not a playoff player. Chris Jones is getting a sack. I'm betting on it.
Well, he's 0 for 13 games. So
I know.
Good time to take him.
I'm due.
He's Pat Kirwan. NFL Radio is moving the chain. CBS Sports, the NFL Today Show, and Pat's appearance, courtesy of Pinterest. More with Pat Kirwan on the other side, right here on the Florida Sports Network. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Life, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Life is supported with the help of local partners like Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria at 41 and Wiggins Pass. Award-winning pizza with a cool rock and roll theme. Don't miss North Naples' newest sensation, Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria. When it's time to leave, book with the award-winning service for Naples Daily News Best of 2021. 250-mile radius, live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Serving a 250-mile radius of Southwest Florida over 15 airports. Salt Life Transportation, the official transportation of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show. Book now, 239-308-8686, or online at saltlifetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
What's up, Pat?
Doing great, fellas. Doing real well. I don't feel like going to Kansas City for a half-hour pregame show, which will not be seen if the other game runs a little late.
Right. And then what, you're stuck in Kansas City for the night, Monday morning, fly out to Mobile?
Yeah, there's no flights out at night,
No.
Not from that airport.
No.
This is a behind the curtain question. Are you guys included in the escape? Can you get out of that stadium?
We have post game.
No, I know that, but do you?
Yeah, we have. We can get we have
police
escort out. Yeah,
yeah. Because Kansas
City. How many
City
people we have? We got
like
4 bus loads.
I understand, but like Monday Night Football, for an example, only allows X number of people in the escape. And they do it by cars. So, like, we were always in the escape with Fox. Okay, the spotters up in the booth were not included in the escape with Monday Night Football.
Well,
and Kansas City is a bit of a nightmare because the hotels are 20 to 30 minutes away from the stadium.
I know.
And so the one game we did in Kansas City this year, I kind of made a minor scene and just said, listen, we need to be in the escape because otherwise we'll be in this parking lot for 2 hours.
Well, we got a number of other guys. Cower and them have their own jet, and they're going home the second the
Right.
game's over. And I usually go with them, except they didn't feel like swinging by Mobile.
Ah, come on.
Nope. As long as I get to Mobile before the next show starts.
Well, you land what, an hour before the show?
Yeah.
Well, that's fine. It's all set up for you. You just need to show up and sit down.
That's it. And that's what I intend to do. You think Nick would have been smart enough to go, why don't we push the start of your show back an hour to make sure you guys all make it? Because we're all in the same boat. And Jimmy and Mike are landing in Pensacola.
Okay.
They couldn't get into Mobile. So, all right, do you pick 738? What do you want me to do here? Do my picks now? Is that what this is?
We'll do the
No,
NFC.
well,
game.
we were going to go more into the NFC game and then maybe touch upon
whatever you want. Just steer the ship here. I'll do it.
We'll do a little more NFC, and then we'll probably ask you about, Dan Quinn, Frank Reich.
And all the times I've said I wouldn't take one of these jobs.
Exactly.
You're sounding like these guys are listening to you, Pat.
Well, they're not listening to me, but I've warned a couple of them. You want to ruin your career? Your second shot better be with a team that can win. If you have any doubts, Dan, don't do it.
Besides, I'm sure Jarrah said, hey, listen, if you're thinking about it, I'll give you another $500,000. Stay.
I told you, we gave Belichick $1 million not to take an interview with Al. $1 million not to get on the plane.
Yeah. And that was back in the day where they didn't throw money around like that for coaches.
No. But as Mr. Hess used to say to me, I just raised super unleaded 2 cents for a day. We got it. The greatest quote he ever gave me. Pat, I know you feel bad about this loss to the Dolphins today, but you see that Hess station over there? I said, yeah. He goes, I'm just going to raise the super unleaded a couple pennies for tomorrow, and we'll be good.
Unbelievable.
Crazy man. Oh, man, it got cold again, didn't it?
Yeah,
it did.
It's in the upper 30s here in Jacksonville.
Oh, I got to ask you two guys. So I go to the game the other night, the Blades game, and I've been to a lot of games this year, and I swear to God, I didn't recognize one guy on the ice. All the guys I like watching, Winicky and Crazy Newbie and all that stuff, none of them were out there. It was like a totally different team. And Craig wasn't there. I didn't see him anywhere. It was very strange, but they looked like they were all 21 years old and skated like bullets.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
Our remaining moments with Pat Kirwan, NFL Radio's Moving the Chain, CBS's NFL Today show. He'll be in Kansas City Sunday. Chiefs and Bengals. We've previewed that game already. Now we're moving on to Niners Eagles. Philly a slight favorite at home. You're concerned for Purdy and the Niners offense going up against that pass rush. Is there a concern that you have, Pat, from Philadelphia's side? Mark made the comment earlier this week. He thinks they're the most balanced team in the league. Basically the toughest out. Is there a part to them that you think San Francisco matches up really well against?
Yeah, I kind of with Mark on the balance part of it. But if you got to dig deep to find something, Philly's run defense is mediocre. And, a lot of times when you become a great pass defense, everyone knows how they're making money. They're making money by getting sacked. So they're teeing off a lot. And sometimes the run game can hurt you. That's why they were ranked 16th at the end of the regular season as a run defense. And you're playing a team that wants to run, is exceptionally good at running, and they're trying to protect the young quarterback. They can say all they want about Brock Purdy, and I'm one of them, but the head coach knows he's got to handle this guy by helping him. And their run game is very, very effective. So I think there's a lot of reasons. And the run game can turn that Philadelphia crowd into somewhat bored and watching the game kind of crank away fast. Maybe you get the game out of here in 3 hours by doing it. So I do think the challenge for Philly is playing great run defense. And against a guy in Shanahan that has every scheme in the world, they do some of the wildest stuff in the run game, and it can neutralize your rush. He loves to trap people. He loves to long pull and counter trap guys. And so he's going to make some of those pass rushers think twice about coming upfield full speed. So that's the challenge they have.
So what do you do differently if you're Philadelphia? I mean, are you bringing safeties up? How do you work your linebackers? Because obviously they can run it with Debo coming around on the outside. They run it a lot of different ways that you just pointed out. How does Philly counter that?
Philly, I think, should play the run on the first and second down. And yes, they'll throw some on there because it's safe. The safest place for that young quarterback to throw is 1st and 10. But I still would play the run against these guys on the road. And get the ball, force this somehow to be 3rd and more than 3, and then all of a sudden they got to throw, and now you can turn the wild men loose, starting with Hassan Reddick, who's been out of control the last 5 weeks. 7.5 sacks, 12 hits on the quarterback, 5 tackles for loss, a couple forced fumbles. You got to get him into your game, and your game is forcing 3rd and more than 3 yards, and I think that's what they're going to try to do. Let me say this about Purdy, because I started this on the last segment. His sack ratio is not great. It's 1 every 16 pass plays is a sack. I'm not even counting hits on the quarterback. So that's the big tease for Philly. They want to get to him, and they can. They know he doesn't run, right? So you're not playing a quarterback that runs. The guy he's not taking off. And so you just do what you have to do to get to 3rd and more than 3 yards. And then you can take your shots at him.
But, Pat, let's just say that ratio holds. If we put a piece of paper in front of Kyle Shanahan and said 1 every 16, he's going to get sacked, I think Shanahan would sign it because he'd go, well, he's going to get sacked twice on Sunday. I think Shanahan would take 2 sacks.
He would, but would he take 5 hits? Because there's nobody behind him. So Philadelphia, the way those guys think, they're just trying to beat this kid up. And you're right. If it's 2 sacks and nothing else, he wins. No problem. But if it's 2 sacks and 5 hits and a mistake interception ball because he panicked and threw. So, look, I think the kid's great. I said it in the other segment. I'll say it again. But has he ever been in this situation? Well, he was never in a starting role, and he responded to that. But now you're in Philadelphia for the right to go to the Super Bowl. And if there's any crack in his armor, it's going to be right now. And, look, Philadelphia last week ran the ball 44 times. San Francisco ran the ball 32 times. But San Francisco last week was 3.5 yards a carry. That if I was San Francisco, I'm going, yeah, everyone knows I want to run. But how good am I running? Philadelphia was a superior run team. 6 yards a carry. They were much better. Yeah, they were playing the Giants. But San Francisco, I don't think they like where they are. They need to be better running the ball.
So who plays in the Super Bowl, Pat?
I think it's Philadelphia and Cincinnati.
We'll make our picks coming up as well. All right, a lot of news yesterday in the NFL. Let's cover as much of it as we can.
Yep.
So Carolina chooses Frank Reich over, we think, Steve Wilks. Carolina had never hired an offensive coach before. It looks like Wilks is going to sue and claim racism. Listen, we all know there's been racism in hiring practices in the NFL. For what it's worth, Pat, I don't think this is racism. I think this is, I'm going to hire an offensive coach in an offensive league.
Yeah, the racism situation, you can scream it all you want. The owner can do whatever he wants. The Rooney Rule says you got to interview people. It doesn't say you have to hire people. So the attorney, agent, whatever his real role is crying foul. I don't blame him for calling foul. I thought Steve Wilks, if you think he's mad right now, wait until the reality of Jeff Saturday gets hired, the other interim coach. Holy mackerel, 1-7. He doesn't deserve that job. If he gets that job, it's going to blow up, an attack on the NFL. But this has gone on before, and look, the situation in Houston, they let an African-American coach go, and then they hired another one. And they still called for racism, down there. So it's always a tough subject to deal with. I think these owners are crazy unless they're hiring the right guy. So we'll see if Frank's the right guy. But I get why they're complaining, but I don't think the complaint's going to go anywhere.
What kind of guts do you have to hire Nathaniel Hackett as your offensive coordinator after the year he had? I mean, that you're putting your career on the line, aren't you, with that hire, Pat?
Well, yes and no. I mean, Hackett's got a lot of people that recommend him, endorse him. He's got great relationships with quarterbacks. He might be being brought in here because of what quarterback he might be able to recruit. That's sometimes part of these deals. And he has relationships with quarterbacks, and they like him. And they need to fix the offense. He should have never left being an OC. What did we find out? He's not head coach material, but he's a pretty good play caller and an organizer of an offense. He's back to where he belongs. And I think all of us remember coaches that are much better off up in the booth calling plays than down on the field, handling the media. Look, I talked to that kid every week, and I felt bad for him. And the more I talked to him, the more I realized head coaching's not for you.
Well, and Bucs fans, I think, are thinking the same thing about Todd Bowles. We will see very quickly, maybe a minute left. Hey, is Dan Quinn listening to your radio show? You've been pounding the table for the Sean Paytons and Dan Quinns of the world not take any of these jobs. Dan Quinn's staying in Dallas.
He is. So we'll see what goes on with the other guys. I just, no offense to these openings, but I didn't like, when it comes to guys like them, I just think they can be choosier than what's available this year. Just be careful. Next year, there might be some terrific openings. And if there's not, the year after that, because they're not jumping in again. This is it. You're going to jump in, and that's going to probably end your career, positive or negative. Do not take on – and they all know what it takes. When you're Sean or Danny, you know what it takes. And if you get any inkling that they don't know what it takes, get in the car and go home.
And in Sean and Dan's case, Mark, Fox is paying Sean and Jarrah's paying Dan. So, when you go home, it's a nice house.
It's a really nice house.
It might be the best house.
You got that right. Pat, as always, thank you. Enjoy Championship Sunday. Safe travels.
Yep. I anxiously await your picks as the day goes on here.
Well, we'll make them coming up. He's Pat Kirwan, NFL Radio's Moving the Chain, CBS's NFL Today Show. Joining us once again, courtesy of Pinchers, Tampa to Key West, dozen locations in between. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. Our picks are next.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around and get it.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Life, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Life is supported with the help of local partners like Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria at 41 and Wiggins Pass. Award-winning pizza with a cool rock and roll theme. Don't miss North Naples' newest sensation, Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria. When it's time to leave, book with the award-winning service for Naples' Daily News Best of 2021. 250-mile radius, live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Serving a 250-mile radius of Southwest Florida over 15 airports. Salt Life Transportation, the official transportation of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show. Book now, 239-308-8686, or online at saltlifetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. FLGolfCarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, FLGolfCarts.com. FLGolfCarts.com. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Is anyone selling a kayak? Can someone please sell me a kayak? Please. Sure, here comes Mark. Here comes Mark.
Not cool.
Why? Oh, no. Eagles Chiefs. That'd be cool. That'd be pretty cool. Mahomes can't go 0 for 4 against Burrow, man. That would not be cool. It would make him a lot less cool. No, I want a kayak, Adam. In fact, we went yesterday, and before we even started, she was scared. 5 minutes in, she was fine. I'm like, oh.
Kayaking.
Again, me. This is me. I'm the one who wants to kayak. She's the one that was scared. Anyways, does anyone have a kayak to sell?
Should just rent one.
I want to buy one and take it with me throughout Florida.
Huh.
Go fishing.
Those kayaks are a little more expensive.
Well, yeah. Maybe not go fishing, but just explore.
I was going to say, fishing out of a kayak.
There are many canals in all of South Florida.
I was in a kayak once. My daughter was really young. It was just the two of us. We started in the Caloosahatchee, separating Fort Myers and North Fort Myers, and I was going to go into a little canal. And right before the canal, a gator started coming right for us.
Mm-hmm.
So I pulled the oars out, and I just said, well, let's just see what happens here. That sucker went right under us. And right as he's going under us, daughter goes, Daddy, what are we doing? I said, shh, nothing.
That freaked me out a little bit.
Yeah. Yep.
But hey, it's just nature, you know. If you don't bother it, it won't bother you.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily with alligators.
Yeah.
They're hungry. They're hungry.
And besides, that's their
turf.
Right. I'm on their turf.
Remember, they wouldn't go after him, but they would go after a kid.
That is true.
That's what would scare me.
Right. Plus, I was worried the thing decided to go under the boat. You know, I mean, if the thing decided to go into the side of the canoe, we were in trouble.
I think, again, that is true. When a gator's hungry, it's hungry, but, you know, I think gators get a bad rep.
I don't know. I actually think they have a great reputation. They're the baddest blankety blanks.
See, gators are cool.
I think the Gators show up and they're like the 85 Bears defense. I think they have a great reputation.
It almost disappoints me that the University of Florida got that mascot over everyone. Because to me, they're not cool.
We didn't mention it yesterday. Obviously, yesterday was a lot of anniversaries. 3 years Kobe, but also the 85 Bears Super Bowl win was, 37 years ago yesterday? I mean, think about how long. If you had said to Bears fans, hey, enjoy this. Hey, it's gonna be another 40. You'd be like, what the hell are you talking about? We're winning next year.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes before the hour, Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. Just heard from Pat Kirwan, going a little in depth on both conference championship games. He's leaning Philly and Cincinnati. Philly, the slight favorite. It's up to 2.5 in some places. Bengals were a 1.5-point dog. Then they were a 1.5-point favorite. Now they're back to being a 1-point dog. Have you flip-flopped on either of the games? Or
No. Not one bit.
So when did you settle in? Was it late Sunday night? Was it Monday? Was it Wednesday? When is it that you kind of settled in?
Pretty much Sunday night.
Interesting.
Pretty much Sunday night.
Huh.
I have had and for what it's worth, I've had a pretty strong feeling about both these teams throughout the playoffs, and my thoughts have been confirmed by watching the games. I think the one thing that everyone is missing, and Pat brought it up, is the Eagles' defense. We have made so much of the Niners' defense, and we talk about Purdy because he's the rookie. We talk about Jalen Hurts because it's a great story and what he's accomplished. But this Eagles' defense is no joke, and it seems to get left out of the equation in the NFC Championship game because of the San Francisco defense.
Well, I also think because when you look at the Eagles, their Pro Bowlers, they have more of them on offense. And so that, Jalen Hurts might have won the MVP award if we voted midway through the season. Jason Kelly's a Hall of Fame center. A Hall of Fame center. He's the best center in the league. And he nearly retired after last year. In fact, that was the word, was that he was going to retire. By the way, how cool would it be brothers facing each other in the Super Bowl? Philly, Kansas City. How ridiculous would that be? By the way, think about, you have a son and a daughter. Imagine, okay, as a dad, both your sons are going to go into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. How ridiculous is that? We talk about Archie Manning and the Mannings and this, that, and the other thing. Well, the Kelceys are doing the same thing.
Both with a Super Bowl chance to have one over the other.
I know.
And is there anything better than that? And
Right.
I'd have to ask you because David and I are both only children. Do you have anything over your brother? Doesn't sound like it.
But to have a Super Bowl, right? Think it's like the Harbaugh brothers. John can always look at Jim. Love you, bro. Hey, by the way, how'd that game in New Orleans finish?
Doesn't have to say anything. Just at Thanksgiving, He can just have the ring on his finger and just look at his brother and say, "Could you pass the stuffing, please?" That's all you have to do.
Reach with that hand.
Right. And then he's passing it back with a middle finger.
Right.
As it comes back. And that's all they have to do.
And it's very weird that you're passing me the potatoes there and my hand is turned the wrong way to receive them. It's so weird. But back to the games. I'm with you. The one thing I will say is I love the Eagles secondary. Love their secondary. It's why last week I thought that the Giants had absolutely no chance. They literally didn't have one player who could win a one-on-one matchup against anybody in the Eagles secondary. All right. San Francisco's interesting. I mean, obviously. First off, Debo's a legit one. Kittles is one of the 5 best tight ends in the league. And McCaffrey in the slot is a problem for anybody.
Well, and I can go deep. I mean, they add
Right.
that element to it. He's a good receiver. So, no, I mean, don't discount. I'm just looking at the guy throwing it to him.
And so you're saying, is this the game in which he's finally a rookie? 7th round pick? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. And if it isn't for the unbelievable acrobatic catch of Kittle in that game, I'm not sure how last week turns out. He only tipped it 3 times to himself going down the field, and no one was able to hit him with the ball up in the air.
Let me ask you this. Do you think, I mean, what was he, like 19 of 29, something like that, 2 and change, no turnovers? Do you think that's good enough to win this week?
It'll be close. It'll be really close because I see this game being an under, David.
What is the over-under on this game?
They're both in the 40s. One's 45, one's 48, I believe.
I'm with you on the
46.5 for Niners Eagles.
I'm with you on the under. I mean, don't you think the first one to 24 would win this game?
Yes.
Listen, I agree with everything you said about the Eagles this week. All right. To me, they're the toughest out. I don't know if they have the highest ceiling, but I think they're the toughest out. They might be the best team in the league at the point of attack on both sides of the ball. That's really tough to beat. Really tough to beat.
This is Dave, this is so your game.
Oh,
this
yeah.
NFC Championship game is made to order for David Moulton because it's about running the damn ball and it's about winning the line of scrimmage for both teams. At the end of the day, I think Philly is just better.
And also, not having a 3 and out, at least getting 1 first down before you punt, that sort of deal. The little things, because, we just said first one to 24. Mark, it might even be first one to 20. This could be, although the weather is supposed to be pretty good, the storm that's moving through is going to be in the middle of the country. That's why Kansas City, Cincinnati, apparently it's going to be really cold and windy. But it doesn't get to the Northeast in time for the NFC Championship. So apparently it's supposed to be like sunny and 50 in Philly. It's supposed to be pretty nice. But I like the Eagles, and it's not because they're at home. Because, I mean, honestly, is there a team whose style of play travels better than the Niners?
No, but I do think the home field advantage is important in this game because Brock Purdy is going to have to play with crowd noise and elements that he's not had to deal with during this whole stretch. They've not had a tough road game. So I do think it's a factor, David.
Okay. All right. We'll see. There have been times in which Purdy's had trouble getting the plays off in time. I mean, we're not talking, Mike McDaniel and Skylar Thompson here, but I like the Eagles, and I like them to cover because it's less than a field goal. Tell you what, 23-16 Philly.
Yeah, I'm somewhere, 21-16, 24-16, something like that sounds about right to me. But I would take Philly. I would take them to cover because, again, it's less than a field goal, and I would take the under in this football game.
And think about where the Eagles have come if they get there. This is the 3rd conference championship game in 4 years for the Niners. This is the 5th time in 6 years the Eagles have made the playoffs. But 2 years ago, they were the last place team in the East. 2 years ago. And they were trading away their franchise quarterback. And they were turning it over to Jalen Hurts. And quite frankly, they didn't think he could play, but he would be a placeholder until they found their next quarterback. And then they began retooling the rest of the roster. And last year, they get the 7 seed, winning 7 of their last, 10. And this year, they're the best team in the NFC from beginning to end. Mark, we talk all about, moves that general managers make in sports. Honestly, I don't know if the Eagles have made one bad move in 2 years. Between the drafts, free agent signings, in-season acquisitions, they have had a stunning 2 years of personnel moves. Can't remember a general manager having a better 2-year run than what Philly has had here in the last 2 years.
To the AFC game, we go with the Bengals and the Chiefs. Right now, Vegas is telling us that the Chiefs are going to win 24-23. The Chiefs are a 1-point favorite. The over-under is 48.
Boy, sign me up. That'd
Right.
be fun. That'd be fun. I don't know if the Chiefs can hold the Bengals to under 24. That would be my first thought. That I'm looking at this thinking, well, since he's going to get to 27, 28 here, if I'm Andy, I'm thinking, man, I got to find a way to get to 30. I don't know if we can keep them. A touchdown a quarter wouldn't be bad, to be honest with you. Those receivers against our secondary. I mean, I don't know if I'd sign up for it, but I'll tell you what, if I'm Andy Reid right now, okay, and we gave him a piece of paper and say you hold the Bengals to 24, I think he'd be like, oh, where's the pen? Give me that.
Love the way that the Chiefs ran the ball last week. Love how effective Pacheco's been. I love his speed. And then the other back's a great pass blocker, which they're going to need all of this week.
McKinnon, who's also in the last 6 games caught 8 touchdowns. I mean, he's become quite the weapon out of the backfield.
So their backfield has been really good. I've liked the Bengals because I think Mahomes is hurt. I don't think Mahomes is going to be as effective. I don't buy the walking off the podium. I just don't think he's going to be able to run around. And if that's the case, I'm taking Joe Burrow over Patrick Mahomes because I don't think Mahomes is close to 100%.
I have to admit, this is the game that I'm really struggling with. One, because, do you really bet against Patrick Mahomes at home? That's
only against the Bengals.
Well, maybe. But here's the other part in wrestling with that. I watched the Rams beat the Niners last year when they hadn't beaten them in 4 years. It's one game. And the Chiefs have had a fourth quarter lead in all 3 losses. It's not like, Pat made the comment. It's not like the Chiefs fear the Bengals. They don't. They just haven't been able to finish them off. Now, the same thing could happen again. But, would it really surprise you if the Chiefs had a fourth quarter lead against the Bengals? So that's a pretty fine line. How many times are you going to go into the fourth quarter losing and win? Can you keep doing it? And you pointed out, Mark, here, how about the irony? This is the most balanced Kansas City team. Mahomes, he's hurt. Well, but this, in a way, is the best Chiefs team to maybe overcome it in a one-game scenario because they're the most balanced of the last 5. And they just have to get through this game. And I do think the defensive line for the Chiefs is going to do some of the things that the Buffalo defensive line couldn't do. I do think they're going to make life awkward for Burrow at various times in this game. At the end of the day, though, Mark, I don't know if that secondary can get a stop when they need to. That's my thing.
3 good receivers, a tight end that can catch the ball. They can run the ball. They're balanced as well.
I do think the Chiefs are going to play with a lead, though. I really do. I actually see – I think there's a chance the game plays out exactly like the last 3. Chiefs are leading. Chiefs are winning going to the 4th. He's Joe Burrow at the end.
If Joe Burrow rips their heart out coming from behind in this game.
Again.
Wow. But I like Cincinnati in this game, David. I've liked them from the get-go. I like them because of the Mahomes injury as much as anything. Give me Cincinnati 27-24.
Bengals 31-27. Burrow takes him down the field, beats him late. Again. I even think there's a chance this game goes over. You want a prop bet? I might throw a couple shekels on, or we're going to get overtime. Well, I know we got overtime in it last year. I think we can get it again. These teams play 10 times. I know the Bengals have beaten them 3 times in the last couple of years. I really believe if these teams play 10 times, I don't care where they play, I really think it's 5-5.
And it all would come down to me to availability of players, and it's why I'm leaning Cincinnati in this game. How effective do you think Mahomes can be in this game?
Effective, but not all world. Because I do think that the whole boot game, he's going to be in the shotgun the whole game, which could affect the running game in certain plays they call. I do think that 15% of the playbook is thrown out because of his injury.
And him running in the scrambling ability and the other things that he brings to the table, the improvisational skills that he can bring are going to lack in this game. There's just no two ways about it.
Now, he's still going to play the way he always plays, but it'll be like last week against Jacksonville. You'll see him limping and hobbling, and, Jacksonville was not 30th against the pass. The Bengals are better than that. So we're both going Eagles, and we're both going Bengals. Well, congratulations, San Francisco, KC.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts, flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com, flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around and get it.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Life, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Life is supported with the help of local partners like Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria at 41 and Wiggins Pass. Award-winning pizza with a cool rock and roll theme. Don't miss North Naples' newest sensation, Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria. When it's time to leave, book with the award-winning service for Naples Daily News Best of 2021. 250-mile radius, live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Serving a 250-mile radius of Southwest Florida over 15 airports. Salt Life Transportation, the official transportation of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show. Book now, 239-308-8686, or online at saltlifetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
The Miller and Moulton kiss of death.
Hasn't been applied this playoff, though.
Have you guys been right on everything?
No.
What were you guys wrong on? Bills?
No, we both had Cincinnati. We went 4-0 last week. We didn't do as well the week before.
The week before. Did you take Tampa?
I did. I think I went 2-2 wild card week. Or no, I think I went 4-2 wild card week, and I think David went 5-1, but I'm not positive.
You took the Chargers.
I did.
You took the Niners over the Seahawks. And then
No, I went 3-3 because I took the Vikings too.
oh, jeez. Anyways, not that my picks matter, but I think I'm going Eagles 17-10. Christian McCaffrey scores the only touchdown for the 49ers. And then I got a 33-30 Chiefs win.
Nice.
Just because someone has to pick the Chiefs here.
Yeah, fam, you might be right. I mean, Quinn hasn't done much for him since they picked him up, but it was a good move. But yeah, and they had to give up a first-round pick to make up for it and get A.J. Brown.
Jalen Reagor.
Yeah, oof. Oofta.
Yeah.
That's an oofta right there.
The Zoom call of the Vikings staff reacting to that is gold.
By the way, just to review, 2019 LSU had Joe Burrow at quarterback, Chase and Jefferson as their top two wideouts.
Correct. That's stupid.
It's when T. Higgins wants the ball, Burrow looks at him and goes, if you were Jefferson, I might throw it to you more.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, you're pretty good, but
but I've had better twos.
T. Higgins was a stud at Clemson.
T. Higgins is a stud now.
I know.
Yes.
I'm being more flippant than anything else. He's a stud. They're
wide.
They got
Dead
Boyd
Tyler
as a
Boyd,
third.
yeah. By the way,
he's as good a two as there is in the league.
Absolutely.
By the way, T. Higgins is 6'4".
You got to call our guest there, Slick.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, gotta get to it. Whatever. Good little show. Hold on. I thought I went forward. Who did I miss last week?
You didn't.
Yeah, I went 3-1 against a number. Had the Eagles, had the Niners, had Kansas City. I had Cincinnati. We both had Cincinnati. Yeah, the only one I went 3-1 against a number last week. The Jags late field goal.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Third and final hour of Miller and Moulton in Lake City and surrounding areas, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte to Venice. Halfway home in the 239. Miller and Moulton along the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Rob Ellis from WIP in Philly to join us coming up in a little more than 30 minutes time as we'll preview the Eagles-Niners NFC Championship game, which is the appetizer for the AFC title game, which is the focus of Mo Egger and ESPN 1530 in Cincinnati. Follow Mo on Twitter at Mo Egger, E-G-G-E-R. Also, make sure you check out the Mo Egger podcast. Mo, it's David and Mark once again. How the heck are you?
Doing great, guys. What's going on?
Well, you're back in the AFC Championship game. Do you occasionally pinch yourself and go, is this real? Am I doing sports talk radio with Joe Burrow as my quarterback?
You know, the doomsday clock, the second hand got moved on it this week. That tells us we're closer to Armageddon. And I think the main reason why is exactly what you just said. The Bengals are now regulars in the AFC Championship game. whoever would have thought? It's funny. I was watching the NFL Network last night replay last year's AFC Championship game, and I caught the very end, and they carried all the post-game stuff. And I said to my wife, like, that still seems bizarre. That experience is so surreal, and we might experience it again in a couple of days. The fact that this is the new reality for Cincinnati and for Bengals fans is very welcome, but it's still taking some getting used to.
Well, we were all a little surprised at how well their offensive line held up against the Bills. How will their offensive line hold up against the Chiefs, who have a little bit better pass rush than what the Bills had?
Question. I think that's the question to me going into last week wasn't, can the Bengals beat the Bills with 3 backup offensive linemen? It was, can they win the Super Bowl with 3 backup offensive linemen? And I think there's a chance if they do win on Sunday that they would get maybe Alex Kappa back, the right guard who's injured, and perhaps Jonah Williams, but probably not going to have those guys on Sunday. They haven't practiced this week. And so, yeah, you got to figure out a way to slow down Chris Jones. He can destroy everything you're trying to do in the football game. But, going into the Buffalo game, I think most of us looked back at last year's postseason and said, all right, Joe Burrow got hit a lot. Joe Burrow got sacked a lot. Joe was chased out of the pocket almost every time he dropped back to throw, but he never turned it over. And you obviously want to keep him upright for 1,000 different reasons, but he has gotten really good at ensuring that a sack doesn't turn into a turnover, being pressured out of the pocket and having to make a hasty decision doesn't result in an interception. He's terrific at protecting the ball. And so I think that's going to go a long way on Sunday. He is going to get hit. He is going to get sacked. My guess is, at least in terms of pass blocking, the offensive line will not hold up the way it did against Buffalo. But I think you can feel pretty comfortable with the belief that those things aren't going to result in Joe breaking mistakes. I think what's really going to be interesting, though, is the Bengals found a running game last week. And look, you could have convinced me that the offensive line was going to be okay. What you would have had a hard time convincing me is that they would bully the Kansas City Chiefs, and they really did on both sides of the ball. They physically, I wouldn't call the Bengals a finesse team, but on the scale of smash mouth to finesse, they're probably, the brand is closer to finesse than smash mouth. That wasn't the case against Buffalo. And the offensive line, helping to carve out a 172-yard rushing day. Joe Mixon was fantastic. If we see that on Sunday, we've talked a lot this week about, the defensive coordinator on the other team just getting to a point where he throws his hands up and goes, what do you want me to do? If this team runs it effectively, I don't know how you stop them. And if they can run it effectively with this offensive line on Sunday, I think it's going to be a long afternoon/evening for the Kansas City defense.
He is crushing it in Afternoon Drive on ESPN 1530. He's Mo Egger. Follow him on Twitter at Mo Egger, EGGER, and also check out the Mo Egger podcast. Hey, what happened? They were 4-4. I saw the Browns game. I mean, they couldn't block the 3 of us. What happened after starting 4-4? Was it a Super Bowl hangover? Did they, change scheme? What's different?
I think if you look at the 4-4 start, what you'll see is what they did in the postseason last year. They couldn't do as well early in the season, which was they couldn't win close games. They lose week 1 in overtime on a kick, and they win that game if their long snapper hadn't got hurt during the game. But, that's neither here nor there. The second game they lost to Cooper Rush and the Dallas Cowboys, walk-off field goal. They lose their third loss, walk-off field goal against the Baltimore Ravens, a night in which Lamar Jackson put the team on his back. And then they were blown out on Halloween night, which really was kind of the outlier. I think what you could do at the midway point is go, okay, the math might be getting a little bit difficult for this team to win the division, but it's not like they're getting pasted up and down the field. I think the first thing that happened is they got DJ Reader back. DJ Reader is a defensive tackle who I think if you were to pick a non-Joe Burrow MVP of the team, he would be my guy. They're just a different defense when he's on the field. He got injured early in the season, came back midway through. He's been terrific. I think that the offensive line coalesced just well enough. Look, it was a unit that had 4 new starters from last year, but that didn't play in the preseason together. Their starting right tackle, Al Collins, missed a large chunk of training camp. Joe Burrow missed a chunk of training camp. The quarterback O-line combo was not on the field a ton during the preseason, so I think it took some time for that unit to coalesce. And I think as a result of that, it took some time for the offense to really kind of get going. They dealt with injuries here or there, but they came out of that Halloween game against the Cleveland Browns when they lost by 19 points. At that point, Jamar Chase had been injured. They had just lost their top cover corner. And I think you were being fair if you started to wonder, is this team going to make the postseason? They had a stretch where you looked at their schedule. The Tennessee Titans were on it at that point, hot team. Buffalo, Kansas City, rematches with Pittsburgh, who they had lost to, a rematch with Baltimore, who they had lost to. To that point, Joe Burrow had never beaten the Cleveland Browns. They were going to play Cleveland again, and they were going to have Deshaun Watson for that game. They had to go to Tampa Bay and play against Tom Brady. I think more than anything, the offense just really kind of coalesced nicely behind that offensive line, and they had a good defense all along. Lou Anarumo, the defensive coordinator, doesn't get talked about enough. It's not like early in the season his defense was just giving up a ton of yardage and teams were moving the ball all over them. What they started to do is do what they did in the postseason last year, and that's make the right play at the right time, force some turnovers. And it's been a different looking football team, and it's remarkable. They haven't lost since that Cleveland game on Halloween night.
And Mo, I think one of the things that we don't talk about enough is that Joe Burrow's gotten better too. He's getting rid of the ball faster. I mean, I think we've already put him up on this pedestal of how good he is, but I don't know if we've seen the best of Joe Burrow yet. And part of the reason to me they got better this year is that Joe got better this year.
I would agree with that. Yeah, and I think he would say as much. He's more comfortable. He's more fluid. I think this season, when Joe was talked about last year, oftentimes the conversation would drift toward things that don't have as much to do with the mechanics of playing quarterback. It was his sunglasses and his outfits. And then, to a degree, it would talk about, his leadership abilities and his confidence. And I remember saying, during the postseason run last year, at some point, maybe we'll actually talk about how good he is at the nuts and bolts of playing quarterback. Well, I think the way he's played this year has driven the conversation toward that. First of all, you start with the fact that he had a 4 interception game week 1 against Pittsburgh, total outlier. Aside from that, doesn't turn it over. And by the way, he was just destroyed physically in that game because of how bad the offensive line was. So he doesn't turn it over. He's also terrific at making the right read. He's boring in comparison to Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, right? With Josh Allen, it's the physical characteristics. It's him running. It's a strong arm. It's trying to fit the ball in the tight windows. It's also giving the football away a lot. With Patrick Mahomes, it's an absolute cannon of an arm, the ability to make incredible throws when he's extended a play. With Joe, it's get to the line of scrimmage, diagnose what the defense is going to do, get the ball, make the right read, get it there. It's not as sexy, it's not as viral, but it is very, very effective. And look, he's helped dramatically by the fact they have elite skill guys, but he has gotten really, really good at just handling the nuts and bolts of quarterback play. And I agree with you. I think his accuracy is better this year. I think his poise in the pocket has grown dramatically. I think his willingness to take the simple throw has changed. They can still beat you deep, but defenses are going to play too high and try to take Jamar Chase and T. Higgins away from beating you downfield. Joe Burrow has gotten really good at saying, fine, you're going to give me a 8-yard slant, I'll take it. You're going to give me a quick hitch, I'll take it. I'll put the ball in a position where my wide receiver can make a play. And more often than not, one of those wide receivers is going to make a play.
Mo, quickly, from the Bengals' perspective, what's your biggest concern? Which side of the ball is it on in this game?
I've been asked that a lot this week, and I've said I can get cute with my answer, and I can try to come up with something that's going to make you go, wow, he's really thought about this. It's Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is still remarkably good. He's going to be the MVP this year. Even in games the Bengals have beaten Kansas City, he's done some insanely good things. I think it's Patrick Mahomes, and I think it's Patrick Mahomes and the chess match between Andy Reid, Eric Bieniemy, Patrick Mahomes, and Cincinnati defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo. Because if you go back to the first game the Bengals and Chiefs played last year. Casey is rolling, pretty much scoring at will. Second half, they took Travis Kelce away, and I think they confused Patrick Mahomes. I think they did that to a larger degree in the second half of the AFC Championship game last year. You're not going to stop him. You're not going to – Patrick Mahomes, even with a compromised leg, you're not going to force him into having a bad day. He's going to make plays. But can you confuse him? The Bengals' track record is yes. Can you make things uncomfortable him? The track record with this defense has been yes. If the answer is no, if they do not have confusion on their side, if they can't figure out a way to fluster him, if they can't figure out a way to, in stretches, take away Travis Kelce, who's had against Cincinnati 2 halves in which he has not caught a pass, then Kansas City is probably going to win the football game. The Bengals can do what they've done against him in these 3 games. I love their chances.
He's Mo Egger. Afternoon Drive on ESPN 1530 in Cincinnati. Also check out the Mo Egger podcast. Follow him on Twitter at Mo Egger, EGGER. Mo, as always, appreciate your time and your insight. Safe travels. Good luck.
Okay, thanks, guys. See ya.
Mo Egger, kind enough to join us here on Miller and Moulton. We'll head to Philly in about 20 minutes. Get the Eagles' perspective from Rob Ellis.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around and get it.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Life, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Life is supported with the help of local partners like Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria at 41 and Wiggins Pass. Award-winning pizza with a cool rock and roll theme. Don't miss North Naples' newest sensation, Zeffy's Tavern and Pizzeria. When it's time to leave, book with the award-winning service for Naples' Daily News Best of 2021. 250-mile radius, live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Serving a 250-mile radius of Southwest Florida over 15 airports. Salt Life Transportation, the official transportation of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show. Book now, 239-308-8686, or online at saltlifetransportation.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Oh. He was angry.
Who was that?
Ariema yelling at Holly Rowe.
Yelling at Holly Rowe?
He was just answering the question. He wasn't yelling at her. He was just yelling.
Gotcha. Was he yelling about his team?
Yelling about the way the game was called.
Damian Lillard is the greatest Blazer of all time.
Clyde Drexler would like a word with you.
That's an interesting debate right there. I know Lillard's ahead of him on the all-time scoring list, but
he's got the third most.
Let me ask you this. Very simple question again.
Yes.
Is Damian Lillard a Hall of Famer?
No question.
Okay. Because that has to be the answer for this to be a legitimate debate then. Because Clyde Drexler was Clyde Drexler was on the dream team.
Right. But
the arguably the greatest basketball team of all time.
No, the greatest basketball team.
And he had to be one of the 12.
Dame is unquestionably a Hall of Famer.
Okay.
He was also on the NBA 75, which everyone on that list is essentially a Hall of Famer.
Agreed, and should be. So that's it's a very legitimate debate. Do you give Drexler more credit because they, 2 trips to the finals while he was there? Lillard, 1 trip to the Western Conference Finals? I would argue Drexler had better teammates, but
right,
but not as good as you think. Jerome Kersey, Kevin Duckworth, Terry Porter. We ain't nobody sniffing.
There was
the Hall
no real
of Fame
Robin with Drexler.
Yeah.
He had a nice complementary team, but he never had a Robin. It was his team.
Right. Kevin Duckworth, Buck Williams, Jerome Kersey, Terry Porter. They're good players.
I love Terry Porter, but Terry Porter wasn't a Pippen, if you know what I mean.
Right.
Right. Dame's best Robin was LaMarcus Aldridge for 3 years, 2 years.
Well, who's the guy that said
right there?
Yeah.
Right. The great.
I'm not arguing with you. I'm just pointing out players.
Right.
CJ McCollum has my favorite label of all time. I label him as the greatest player in NBA history to never make an All-Star game. Never be an All-Star. CJ McCollum. Either him or Mike Bibby.
By the way, I saw a tweet that somebody sent out like a couple of weeks ago. You remember the white point guard Jason Williams?
Yeah, chocolate.
Yeah. Oh my God. Somebody is like
the passes.
Oh, jeez.
I saw that too.
Oh yeah.
Lee.
Oh yeah.
Got a follow up here, David.
Okay.
You got to play?
Oh yeah, I got to play. He was John Stockton with swag. White Chocolate was my point guard in 06.
No idea.
30 seconds.
I don't know, Spitz. Mark may know. I have no idea. And Felipe, don't tell me what the pod will be.
You'll find out right now.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Rob Ellis, WIP in Philly. Also Jacob Media. I pronounced it Jacob last time. I went all Norwegian with it. What was I thinking?
I don't know.
The spelling
is because the K threw you?
Totally. It's Jakib Media.
Jacob.
Here's the right. And for whatever reason, I saw it and went, Danish. I don't know why. I'm usually really good with that stuff.
You are. That's usually my area of fail.
I feel like Jacob has an O in it as well.
Yeah, or even a Y or something. I have no idea what I was doing there. So anyway, he does.
You gotta remember, Jacob became the most popular name for boys for a good 10-year period. So what happens with that is you got to start making the quirky spellings.
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but anyway. And not only that, what's your son's name?
Jacob.
Right. And I looked at the spelling and went, Jacob, whatever. It was nice of Rob Ellis not to correct me on the air. He's probably thinking, what the hell show am I on? They can't even pronounce the network I do a 3-hour show on. And here's the funny thing, Mark. The guy who runs that Jacob Media, he nearly hired us. Remember?
That's the Atlantic City guy?
That's the Atlantic City guy who wanted to run our show.
He likes us.
He does.
He did.
Well, now, unless he listened to an interview we did with Rob Ellis last week. Anyway, so we'll get all the stations that Rob Ellis works on right coming up in about 15 minutes when he joins us. And, oh, by the way, we'll preview the Eagles-Niners as well.
David, I have a follow-up.
Okay.
I hear they're big in this industry.
Well, they are definitely in television. I have no idea about sports talk radio.
But yesterday we talked about the Duquesne basketball game against Loyola Chicago when the Uber Eats delivery person wandered on the court.
And we wondered, how did that happen?
Unfortunately, it was not the bizarre organic moment that we thought it was. Many people thought that this was a prank. They were right.
Of course it was.
The university made some, statements yesterday. Basically, they're going to tighten up security and protocols. But basically, the individual was wearing a microphone while someone filmed him as he walked onto court during active play.
Gotcha.
They point out that no harm was done. But my favorite is Duquesne coach Keith Cambrot told reporters after the game, he said, it's the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. Other than when I was an assistant at Eastern Michigan, we had friends of ours that were good fans. And they got ice cream. They got the ice cream guy to deliver ice cream to the coach coaching the game during the game. That's the closest thing I've ever seen to that.
Well, speaking of organic moments that turned out not to be organic moments, do you remember earlier this week, the two kids who had the sign at the Heat game? We traveled 4,000
miles. Right.
And to see Jimmy Butler, and they, find out he's not going to play, and they react to it, and the Heat see it, and they end up bringing him a Butler jersey, a basketball. He gets a picture, and gets a nice moment and the whole deal. Did you see the same family 2 nights ago? Was it Golden State with a sign that they just changed the mileage?
No.
Yeah. Saying to Steph, we traveled 8,080 miles to come see you. Can we get whatever or a hug?
Well, that kid ended up having dinner with Jimmy Butler.
Yeah. Well, then parents put him on a plane the next day. They went to the Bay Area and they were at the Golden State Memphis game.
Hopefully homeschooling's going well for this young dad.
Well, yeah. Clearly the parents are doing pretty well for themselves.
Right.
Okay. But also B, hey, these kids have got load management figured out. I support the kids on this one. They're taking it. These guys aren't going to play? Fine. Okay. We're going to play it the other way. Make you feel guilty about it.
By the way, the young lad's name was Felipe.
And Felipe's parents are doing better than your parents because they're flying him across the country to see basketball games.
Yeah, for real.
Not that you grew up poor, Felipe, but you weren't flying coast to coast to watch basketball during a weeknight. I think maybe the fact that mom's a principal, she would have had that. That would have probably been a down moment.
Yeah,
of you skipping school back-to-back days.
I never missed school.
So apparently the signs are not false. Okay. I mean, apparently the family didn't, in fact, travel all those miles to see, but they're playing the game. And once it worked in Miami, I guess they had planned they were going to go to Golden State. So they're like, well, we got to come up with a new sign here. So listen, I'm totally on the family side here. You guys are going to play this load management. By the way, Richard Jefferson went off on ESPN and load management last night. Went off on it. Told a story about when he was a kid. We had no money. Once a year, my parents would save up for one ticket. They'd drop me off at the arena with a ticket and $5. I'd watch the game. I'd walk out. They'd pick me back up. It was the only game I could afford to see all year. He went nuts on it. Good for him.
Good for him. Won't change a damn thing.
No.
But good for him. Until players are paid on a per-game basis, it will not change.
Got that right.
What do you say? Time now for our Clutch Vodka play of the day?
Yeah, what is it? I have no idea.
Neither do I. It's Clutch with a K, we think. Felipe, what do you have for us today?
Well, I wanted to give David something to celebrate on a Friday because the Knicks went into the TD Garden. They beat the Celtics on the road. Jalen Brunson with a game-winning block.
Brogdon about to inbound. Down 3. 5 seconds to go. Brogdon looking. Still looking. 5-second count is on. Got to get it in. Gets it into Tatum. Tatum fading for 3. No good. 2 seconds to go. Offensive rebound out to Brogdon. Blocked by Brunson at the horn. And the Knicks come into Boston and win in overtime.
That's a big win.
It
for
is.
New York Knicks, sir.
After losing a bunch in a row, they've beaten Cleveland and Boston back-to-back. That's not bad for play of the day. That's not. I mean, you had a lot of choices last night. Thought we might have, Hedman's game winner in the third.
A Hedman goal there.
I figured that was that was a finalist. Bruins have only lost 6 times this year in regulation, but I like it.
That's our Clutch Vodka play of the day. That's Hedman that's Clutch with a K. Check them out, clutchspirits.com. Hashtag all your drink with the hashtag Clutch Spirits. And look for Clutch Vodka wherever it is that you are buying your liquor.
Do you know there was a moment last night? It was, I'd say, like 9:15, 20 after 9, that I just grabbed my phone. I'm watching Lightning Bruins. Paying it, USC UCLA has just started. I'm watching, for Andy. And I pick up the phone and I'm checking out some college basketball scores. But I hit the NHL. Mark, there were 9 games in the NHL last night. Every single one of them was tied but one at like 9:20 Eastern time. The games that were in the third period were all tied. The games that were in the second period were all tied. And there were a bunch of games that had just started, and they were all 0-0 in the first. I'm looking at them going, this is the most remarkable thing I've ever seen.
That was playoff-like last night in Tampa.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was a really intense game. Bruins with the night off tonight. They play at Florida tomorrow. At the house on the Bruins.
Totally. There's no way they're losing 2 in a row. Are you serious? I will say, by the way, quite a few Bruins fans got in that arena last night, and that is not an easy ticket to get a hold of.
And it's sold out Saturday in Florida. It will be 65% Boston?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So Bruins and Lightning last night, which, man, oh, man, as you mentioned earlier on, David, if that's the Eastern Conference Final this year, sign me up right now. Miller and Moulton. We will head to Philadelphia. Rob Ellis is next. We'll talk the NFC Championship game with him right here on the Florida Sports Network. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Golfers, Are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. It's phenomenal, DC. I told David he would absolutely love it. The Barstool Sports trivia show, The Dozen.
So Mad Dog Russo has a trivia contest the week before the Super Bowl. Next week, starting Monday. You call in, you answer 4 in a row, he gives you tickets to the Super Bowl.
Barstool Reegs that comes on our show is really good on that. I'm him.
I'm him. Who said that, Joe?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What are you talking? That's what I'm talking about. I'm him.
That's like the new thing now, by the way. I'm him. Was that a thing back then? Anyone ever
No.
refer to themselves as him?
No.
Hmm.
Yes, there was one guy that did it. Jesus. You got to go really old school there.
Yeah. David was around for that, right?
Yes, and that's why no one else has done it since.
That's a Twitch only line right there.
We're coming back.
Too soon?
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Rob Ellis, kind enough to join us once again. The Eagles won. He agreed to come back on. We got a good little thing going, and this time I'll even pronounce where he works properly. How about that? The 94 WIP part, that was easy. But we're not going to call it some Danish sports outlet this week. It's Jacob Media, Jakib. For those of you who follow Philly sports, you've been aware of it the last 3 years. I don't know if anybody does a better job covering Philly sports day in, day out than Jacob Media. You can follow him. He co-hosts Sports Take on their YouTube channel. Rob, now that you're no longer working overseas, how are you?
Well, I needed another job, so I'm good. No, I'm a big IKEA guy. So, I mean, anything kind of Norwegian, meatballs, I can put together a table. It's all good. You know how it works.
I'd have some sounders from the Muppet Chef here if I knew we were ready for all of that, but we'll save it for another day. I have been contesting all week long that the one unit that's not being talked about enough is the Eagles defense. I think they're the difference in this game. What do you think, Rob?
Yeah, I mean, you talk about a team that got recorded 70 sacks during the regular season and got 5 more last week against the Giants. I mean, they're a disruptive force, and they don't allow opposing quarterbacks time. The big concern last week was, all right, well, if Daniel Jones doesn't have time, he's going to get out of the pocket and run like crazy, but they contain that as well. So, yeah, I mean, it's a really good defensive team. It's a strange thing in the city. There's not a lot of love for Jonathan Gannon, who's the defensive coordinator. For some reason, I can't figure it out. He's not, uber aggressive gambler, Buddy Ryan, Jim Johnson type, but they just deliver, and they don't give up big plays, which is probably the other thing that stands out about them other than the pass rush. They just don't allow big plays. No, look, they've been really good. And they're also getting healthier. Avonte Maddox has practiced the last 2 days, so they may be able to plug him back into that slot corner spot and move C.J. Gardner-Johnson back to the safety spot. So they're about as healthy as any team, guys, could possibly be at this point, with just 2 games left potentially.
Rob Ellis, 94 WIP in Philly, and Sports Take, weekdays, Jacob Media YouTube channel. Follow him on Twitter, @REllis Sports. @Ellis Sports. Well, it's funny what you say about the defensive coordinator. I mean, Eagles fans were kind of mixed on Jim Schwartz, too. I mean, it seems as if nobody since the late Jimmy Johnson's been good enough.
It's true. I mean, I think the issue is a lot of people were raised on, Buddy Ryan aggression. Then it was Bud Carson, who also played an aggressive style. Then it was Jim Johnson. And so basically anybody else after that is spoiled for them. And yeah, I mean, Jim Schwartz gave up 500 yards in a Super Bowl that the Eagles won 41-33 to the Patriots. But I don't even know if he took the same amount of heat that Jonathan Gannon's taken. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me. The bottom line is the guy delivers. And look, they're talented. Howie Roseman gave him a lot of tools to work with and a lot of weapons. The one area I would say they're a little bit susceptible is on the ground. Now, they did a pretty decent job last week, all things considered. But, the 49ers aren't the Giants. So that's an area to keep your eye on. And, look, a lot of this is going to come down to how healthy is McCaffrey, how healthy is Mitchell. But I think that's an area to look at. The other thing is, I would imagine Deebo Samuel didn't have a real big game last week. I would expect he's looking to kind of get going here in this one.
And I don't know, Rob, what you think, but I mean, how do you stop when you're looking to stop the run? Is it all up to stop McCaffrey and let Dabo get? I mean, how do you let Debo get you? I don't know how you stop this if you go after one. How do you think they'll effectively try to slow this rushing game down?
I'll tell you, Mitchell's good too.
Yeah.
I know they're both. Mitchell's dealing with a groin, and McCaffrey's got the calf, but he's really good too. There's no easy answer to that. I mean, I thought actually the Cowboys, and some of this may have had to do with the fact that McCaffrey wasn't feeling great. I mean, he was coming out every other play trying to get that thing loose. But I thought the Cowboys had a pretty good game plan. And, what you want to do is you just can't give up the big chunks. And, if McCaffrey's going to get 3-4 yards, okay. I mean, that's fine. That's really been the MO of Jonathan Gannon the entire season. Keep everything in front of you and don't give up the big play. I would say another area just to point out real quick, guys, I should have mentioned it in the last question. I would be a little bit concerned with the middle of the field, and especially with this team, because you have Debo, you have Kittle, you have McCaffrey who can do some damage in that area, and they're all great yards after catch. The Eagles linebackers really need to come to play. Kaiser White's been an excellent free agent signing, and he is a guy who has the capability of covering, guys out of the backfield, et cetera. But that could be an area that the Niners really look to expose with the Eagles. So that's one to keep your eye on too, is just the impact that the middle of the field has here, because it's been a bit of an issue for the Eagles this season.
Rob, you took me to where I was going to go, and I don't know if we wanted to really, slice the onion that thin, but the Eagles go 7-8 deep on the D-line. I think it's one of the 3 best secondaries in the league. They can go man, they can go zone. They've got 2-3 guys who can shut receivers down. Nobody has that except them. But, the Niners, they run a lot of crossing routes with their receivers. McCaffrey coming out of the slot, the very detailed running game. I mean, it does put a lot of pressure on inside linebackers, and that is probably, we're nitpicking here, but that's probably the weakest area of the Eagles' defense.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think the good thing from that perspective is you can give safety help because you trust your corners to be singled up. Even though, look, the Niners receivers are really good. We know how good Debo is. We Ayuk probably doesn't get the amount of love that he should get. But you can trust Bradbury and Slay singled up on these guys and give some safety help with Kittle, with McCaffrey, with whomever you choose. And that wouldn't surprise me if they go that route. The Eagles don't like to do a lot of press coverage, a lot of press man coverage, but I think you may see a little bit more of it in this game. But that's really, I think, ultimately, obviously, you got to get to Purdy and get him uncomfortable and hit him a couple of times. That's going to be a huge thing. But I think the linebacker play and just kind of the middle of the field, keeping that contained is going to be big. But look, there's a lot of things that this defense does well. And the beauty, too, with the defensive line that they have is they're deep, and they can just keep rolling bodies and keep them fresh because there's some age there. I mean, Fletcher Cox is not a kid anymore. Javon Hargrave's not a kid. Linval Joseph, Sue. But the beauty, and Brandon Graham, but the beauty is you just keep running the amount of bodies in and out, and they stay pretty fresh. Obviously, it's worked so far.
Other side of the ball, where do you see Jalen Hurts and the Eagles being able to have an advantage on a great Niners defense?
They are a great defense. I would say the one area that they struggle with is in the passing game, is you can get it down the field. They're 20th against the pass this year in the regular season. So as good as they are in all other areas, if you can get your quarterback time, he can make some plays down the field. I would really keep your eye on A.J. Brown in this game. He didn't contribute a whole lot. He wasn't real happy about it last week. I think they'll look to get him going early, and I think he's going to be highly motivated to go off. So I think A.J. Brown could have a big game in this one. It's interesting, very similar style to Debo in that they're both great after the catch, both big, both could, pass as a running back or a linebacker. So I would look for him to have a big game. The thing that's interesting about the in terms of sacks with the 49ers is you go from Bosa with 18.5 sacks, and then the next leading sack person is 5. There's a drop-off there. So if you can not let Bosa go nuts, easier said than done, okay? But if you can not let him go nuts, I think this Eagles offensive line will hold up because this offensive line, and the great thing about last week from an Eagle perspective is Lane Johnson got through it healthy and didn't even allow a pressure. So if you can at least not let Bosa wreak havoc, I think the Eagles can give Jalen enough time to be able to make some plays down the field. But it's going to be hard to run on them. It's going to be hard to do a lot of things on them. This defense is phenomenal.
You mentioned 2 things I'd want to follow up on. First off, A.J. Brown's health. It looked like he got hurt in the 4th quarter. Now, granted, they were up like 4 scores. Maybe that's why they took him out as precaution. Has he practiced all week? What's his injury status?
He's practicing. They didn't really get specific. They gave you the old hockey, upper body, lower body. Nick Sirianni gave you the something's bothering him, but he's okay. You know, one of those deals, which is what we do in sports now. From what I've heard, it was a hip, but it wasn't anything all that serious. He has practiced fully. He hasn't been limited or anything like that. So I would expect. I think that was a little bit of frustration with the hip, maybe bothering him a little bit, and a bruised ego. And we know how receivers can be; they can be divas.
The other thing is, if I'm the Niners, you mentioned it. If I'm going to move Bosa to the other side, because usually Bosa lines up across from the Eagles, it'd be Lane Johnson. I don't want him lining up across from Lane Johnson. I want him on the other side.
Yeah, I think they're going to move him a ton. I think he's going to attack Mailata, who's the left tackle, who is very good, but is a much better run blocker than he is a pass blocker. So I think you're going to see him lined up on Mailata. I think they're also going to test out Lane Johnson early. Just because he got through last week with the torn abductor doesn't mean when you're dealing with this beast in Bosa that he's going to be able to hold up against him too. So I think you'll see him all over the place. He's definitely not just going to line up on Lane. I agree with you.
Do you have an X factor for the Eagles, that one guy, one group that's got to happen for them to win?
I would say linebackers and A.J. Brown on either side of the ball. I think they're both going to be just enormous in this game. If you get good linebacker play, I would say more than anything else, you got to force Purdy into some turnovers. I mean, the Cowboys dropped 2 last week. That can't happen in a game with such a fine margin. And I think this is a field goal kind of game, last second kind of game. I think forcing him into a turnover is going to be huge. I love the kid. I love the whole story about him. And I watched him play at Iowa State. He was a hell of a player. 48 starts there is nothing to sneeze at. And had a really good program with an excellent coach in Matt Campbell. But he hasn't played a pro game outside of the Pacific time zone. So he's going to be coming here to Philly. It's going to be a hostile environment. At any point, is he ever going to look like a rookie? That's what I wonder about. Now, he hasn't so far, and Shanahan's put him in the best position to succeed. But I think if you can kind of get to him early, bang him around early, then I think you may see him look like a rookie a little bit.
Yeah, it'll feel like a nice, calm picnic compared to the venom. I mean, the Eagles fans played the Giants last week. I mean, come on. The crowd brought its A game nastiness last week. I know there's more on the line this week, but can they be as nasty as they were last week? I mean, that was the Giants. The only people they get more upset about are the Cowboys.
No, they'll be loud. I'm not worried about that. I mean, they were so loud last week that they had to go to a silent snap on the offensive side, which is rare. I mean, when the offense is out there, the crowd usually settles down a little bit. No, I think it's going to be insane. I mean, Philadelphia realizes probably more than any city that this stuff doesn't happen very often, so enjoy it, and you better make the most of it. The other advantage they had last week was that game started at 8:15. They had 12 hours of losing up before that game. But something tells me they'll make up for some of that lost time. I think they're tailgating right now, as a matter of fact, for the game tomorrow.
Rob Ellis, 94 WIP in Philly. Also, weekday Sports Take, Jacob Media, their YouTube channel. Follow Rob on Twitter, RLS Sports, RLS Sports. Rob, take it in. Enjoy it. You're right. You can't take these for granted, although this team is positioned for a nice little run here. All the best. Thanks for your time.
Fellas, always a pleasure being with you. Have a great day.
Rob Ellis, kind enough to join us once again here on Miller and Moulton.
Anything he said change anything you think about the game?
What I do find interesting is how much Jalen Hurts has cemented his place. Have you heard anyone this week, anyone, anywhere, question whether or not Jalen Hurts is going to be up to the game and up to the challenge? When literally a year ago at this time, he led the Eagles into the playoffs, and basically people were like, well, this could be a pretty good team if they had a quarterback.
You know what? You bring up a dadgum good point. Purdy's been all of the talk. Jalen Hurts is in this situation, and we don't know what to expect. You are right in that there are many people who didn't think he was a starting quarterback not too long ago. And now, because of the year that he's had, we've taken all that away. I don't think the moment's too – I mean, obviously, he's played in big moments. He's not afraid of them.
Right. I mean, he's played in a couple championship games in college, and, I think he's a winner and he's a leader of men. And he showed last week that he's certainly healthy enough. I do think the Eagles will get the better quarterback play, and it'll be one of the reasons why they win.
I just think Brock Purdy looks a little more like a rookie in this game, and that's going to be the difference. It's going to be a low-scoring game. I don't think anybody is giving the Eagles defense enough credit this week, and I think they'll be the difference in the football game.
I'll tell you what, though, Kyle Shanahan, who's thought of very highly in NFL circles, they win this game. You got to give him a lot of credit. His scheme offensively and then carrying Purdy along with it, they're able to win this game with that defense. I still think Shanahan will deserve a staggering amount of credit.
Absolutely. I mean, look, do you think they can get to the mid to high 20s?
Could they? Sure. Will they? I don't see them getting above 20.
And if they do that, then all bets are off.
I like Eagles 23-16, and I'm going Bengals like 30-27, 31-27, something like that.
Yeah, I like the Eagles winning in an under, and I like Cincinnati winning in an over game.
So that's where we both are. So back up the truck on the Niners in the over and the Chiefs in the under. Although we were both 3-1 last week, okay? We don't always suck, you know. Miller and Moulton. Thanks for listening. Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for